ESPN, celebrating our 10th season as your home for Major League Baseball.
A very pleasant good evening, everyone. My name is John Miller. Tonight, our premiere, coast-to-coast exclusive coverage on ESPN.
We've come a long, long way through the hard times and the...
Move over, Ty Cobb!
I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should.
And there's the storybook ending for the Rockies. The Seattle Mariners are the champions of the American League West.
This evening, we are paying tribute to Jackie.
The Cubs will go to the postseason. He has tied Maris. Mark McGwire, you got company. Can you count to 70? It's hot. It feels like the middle of summer. Temperatures around 90 degrees. And tonight, for the first time, Major League Baseball's opening night comes from Mexico. We are in Monterrey, the city of mountains. The San Diego Padres meet the Colorado Rockies. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller, along with Joe Morgan, back for our 10th season of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. We are thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to be anywhere for an opener. But tonight, it's history for Major League Baseball, the first time in Mexico. And we get the San Diego Padres, a ball club that had a great year last year, but it's a vastly different San Diego ball club. Kevin Brown is gone. Greg Vaughn is gone to Cincinnati. And despite all of that, Kevin Towers, their general manager, feels that the Padres still can contend. How about you, Joe? What do you think?
Well, I think they're trying to replace the power they lost with speed and athletic ability. Sounds good. But the big problem for me is the loss of Greg Vaughn. When you lose 50 home runs from a guy, and he's the guy that also carried them the first half of last season. Without him, they wouldn't have won the pennant last year. He was an MVP candidate. So I don't see them being better than they were last year. Even with all the speed in the world, you're not going to replace 50 home runs.
All right. Now, speaking of home runs, I'm so glad you brought that up. Because we're in Mexico, and the outstanding slugger of the Rockies, Vinny Castilla, returns home. He's from Oaxaca. He's a national hero in Mexico, and we were listening in with great interest when he was introduced before this big crowd a little while ago.
En la tercera base, regresa a casa, el héroe del béisbol mexicano, número 14.
Vinny Castilla is indeed a hero here in Mexico, and our Alvaro Martin was able to meet up with him a few minutes before game time.
Vinny, we've spirited you into the dugout. You've been mobbed today. Could you imagine growing up in Oaxaca, Mexico, playing Little League, that someday you'll be playing a regular season game in your homeland?
Well, it's like a dream come true for me. I mean, my dream always was play in the major league level, and thank God I'm here, and I'm working hard for it, and this is amazing. This is crazy for me. I mean, I never imagined this happened to me to play an opening day game here in my country, and I'm pretty excited, and hopefully we win this game.
Today you're being seen in all of Latin America. Do you have any words for your folks in Mexico and Latin America who are watching you in Spanish?
Pues un saludo a toda esa afición de béisbol de Latinoamérica, a todos mis hermanos dominicanos, venezolanos, puertorriqueños, panameños, mexicanos que están viendo este partido, y pues vamos a tratar de dar todo nuestro máximo esfuerzo para poner el nombre no nomás de México en alto, sino de todo el béisbol en Latinoamérica.
He says hello to all Latin American countries, and he wishes he could put the name of Mexico and the rest of Latin America in a high pedestal. This is one highly motivated guy today. Caballeros.
Muchas gracias, Alvaro Martin, y mucho gusto, Vinny Castilla. Opening night, 1999. Darryl Kyle for the Rockies, Andy Ashby for the Padres. It's hot in Mexico. Baseball about to begin.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Nike. By 10-10-345, the easy way to save on long distance. And by Roundup. Roundup, no mercy, no pity, no weeds.
Beautiful night for baseball in Monterrey, Mexico. Estadio de Béisbol Monterrey. The Rockies and the Padres And we're going to go down to the field now. The first ball ceremonies are taking place. First, the governor of Nuevo León, the state in which Monterrey resides, Fernando Canales, throws out a pitch. And now a hero from the 1957 Mexican Little League World Championship team, Angel Macias, who is joined there on the right, Vinny Castilla in the center.
Ángel Macías, integrante del equipo campeón mexicano de la Serie Mundial de Ligas Pequeñas de 1957. Javier Castilla, de los Rockies de Colorado.
Number 19 there was Gabriel Alvarez of the 1997 Mexican Little League World Championship team. And of course, Vinny Castilla, the all-time home run leader among all Mexican-born players in the major leagues. So we had 4 different ceremonial first pitches here tonight. And although the Rockies are officially the visiting team, it may well, for much of this night, feel like they are the home team with Vinny Castilla in their dugout. The umpires getting ready to head out to the field. The home plate umpire there with the mask is Steve Ripley. The crew chief, that in the foreground, is Gary Darling. He'll be at first base. And those two will be joined by Larry Pansino at second, and Jerry Meals will be the third base umpire. There's Larry Pansino, and there's Jerry Meals. So the umpires for tonight's game head out to home plate, and the managers, Jim Leland, accompanying plate umpire Steve Ripley, the new manager of the Colorado Rockies, and of course Bruce Bochy, who in the last 3 years has his Padres at the top of the division 2 times, and last year, of course, they went all the way to the World Series before being swept by the New York Yankees. And Joe, in the open, you brought up an interesting point. I mean, the National League West now has a whole parade of managers who have had great success in bringing their teams to division titles and into the postseason.
Well, there's no doubt that, you know, Jim Leland has a track record with Colorado. Davey Johnson has a track record with the Dodgers. But, you know, I don't think that the manager was the problem with Colorado last year. Don Baylor has been manager of the year, and he has done a good job there. You're going to have some pitching, and one guy, even a manager like Jim Leland, is not going to be able to turn a franchise around unless he gets some pitching help. And Darryl Kyle will be the guy that I think they're counting on to turn things around, along with Pedro Estacio. Those are the 2 guys that have to have good seasons in order for the Rockies to contend. And the Padres, I just think they've lost a little too much to say that they are going to repeat as National League Western Division champions. Again, if you lose 50 home runs, all the speed you can bring in is not going to make up the 50 home runs. And Greg Vaughn last year was an MVP candidate, and he really carried this ball club the first half. Tony Gwynn told me last year that without Greg Vaughn, they wouldn't have even been in the race last year, so they do not have him this year, and we'll see how that works out. But anytime you have a guy like Tony Gwynn with 8 batting titles and his personality on your ball club, you figure that he's going to lead by example, and a lot of guys are going to follow. So, and that's what makes baseball great. You never know what's going to happen. We have 162 to go. Tonight's only the first one, and we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, Tony Gwynn talked to us before the ball game about all of those changes with his ball club.
People are already writing us off already, and that's the typical Padre way, you know, and so for us, it's just business as usual. We're going to go out there and try to play the best baseball we can play, and we hope that it's kind of to the caliber that it's been the last couple of years.
All right, so we'll see.
Well, John, they finished last, first, and they may finish last again in the division. So kind of interesting situation there. You know, in the last 4 years, they've won twice and finished last twice. So, but that's what makes it great. We'll see what happens.
And the Padres, again, the home team tonight, take the field here in Monterrey. Andy Ashby, rather than Kevin Brown, takes the hill. Kevin Brown, of course, will make his debut as a Dodger tomorrow afternoon against Randy Johnson, who will be making his debut for the Arizona Diamondbacks in a game you'll see right here on ESPN, opening day at Dodger Stadium. Jim Leland's GM Colorado Rockies batting order now. Darrell Hamilton, acquired from the Giants in late July last year in center field. Nafi Perez at short. Lenny Harris in right field, replacing Larry Walker, who hurt himself, injured his rib cage in batting practice the other day, and not available for this game tonight. They're hoping he'll be available by Tuesday when they play in San Diego. Dante Bichette in left field batting cleanup. Vinny Castilla is at third base. Of course, Bichette is the only original opening day lineup member of the Rockies still in the lineup tonight. Todd Helton after Castilla at first base hitting sixth. Mike Lansing is at second base. Kurt Manwaring, the catcher, hitting eighth, and Darryl Kyle, a 17-game loser last year for the Rockies, which is not quite what they had in mind. But he's back as the opening night starter again this year. And there is Andy Ashby, a 17-game winner for the Padres last year. His best season in the major leagues. And he gave a lot of the credit for his success last year to his pitching coach, Dave Stewart, and also to his former teammate, Kevin Brown. And he went into an exercise conditioning program in the offseason that Kevin Brown recommended for him. So he's hopeful that he'll be able to come back for more. Not near as hopeful, perhaps, as Bruce Bochy and his teammates, because they need him now to step into those very large shoes filled by Brown last year as the staff ace.
Well, it's very difficult, you know, to step in and be the ace of the staff, but Andy Ashby has the stuff to do that. You mentioned that Dave Stewart is gone. Dave Smith is the new pitching coach, but he throws a good fastball. He has a sinking fastball. He has a riding fastball, and he has a very good changeup. But like all pitchers in today's game, you have to get ahead to get some help from the hitters. Get them chase some of those sinkers out of the strike zone.
That was Dave
and let's
Smith.
take a look at the defense for the Padres. There you see the three guys, Saunders, Arias, and Rivera. They're replacing Caminetti, Greg Vaughn, and Finley in center field. So those are three of the new guys, and Myers behind the plate replacing Carlos Hernandez, who is still here. He's just on the injured list, so Carlos will be back, but the other three are gone.
And there is Darryl Hamilton, ready to lead it off for the Colorado Rockies. Hamilton, who hit .308 last year, and what's more, he got a lot more walks than he had the year before and kept his on-base average up around 400 all season long. The 1999 Major League Baseball season about to begin for the first time in Mexico. And the first pitch, a base hit to left field for Darryl Hamilton.
Well, it's the first hit of the baseball season.
So Hamilton is aboard.
Well, Ashby gets the fastball up and over the middle of the plate. He was probably just trying to throw a strike, get off to a good start. Hamilton swings at the first pitch and hits it to left field for a base hit. Jim Leland is very pleased with Darryl Hamilton. He knows that he has an excellent leadoff hitter, and we have the Larry Walkers of the world and Bichette's and Castillo's behind him. You know you're going to score a lot of runs.
Neifi Perez, 274 last year in his first full year in the big leagues. And that is a called strike. It's almost become customary now, especially in games that have historic trappings to them, as this one, the first opening day game in Major League Baseball history, to be played south of the border. But flash balls going off all around the ballpark. There it is. That's a foul on the bunt, and the count is 2 strikes. Lenny Harris is on deck, not Larry Walker. I'm concerned about Larry Walker. Rich Donnelly, the third base coach, flashes some signs. Walker injured himself hitting a 450-foot big fly during batting practice the other day in Arizona with a pulled muscle in his rib cage. The league's leading hitter last year, although he was really stricken with injuries most of last season as well, and did not actually produce many runs. Still 0-2 to Neifi Perez.
And it was actually a game-time decision on whether he was going to play tonight or not, John. And I think they decided he did have some injuries last year. We need to get this guy healthy before we run him out there, because we need his bat in this lineup as much as possible this year.
0-2 to Neifi Perez. Darryl Hamilton had 13 steals last year, got caught 9 times. He's at first, getting his lead. Right back to Ashby, but hit slowly. He takes his time going to second, in time to get Darryl Hamilton with the shortstop Gomez covering. So there is one away.
Good play there by Ashby, not because it was a tough play, but because he took his time and made sure of one. A lot of times pitchers panic and try to turn a double play on that ball, and they throw it away.
It's kind of a calm and cool play there by a veteran, Andy Ashby. Made sure of the one. Here's Lenny Harris. Started last year with Cincinnati, then went to the Mets. Kind of a handy guy to have around.
Very handy.
Can play all around the outfield. He can play the infield. Good pinch hitter. Runs well. Easily back at first is Perez. Perez runs pretty well, but he only had 5 steals last year.
And they expect a lot from Nefi this year, not only on the bases, but they expect him to do better defensively and also to hit a lot better.
I mean, they think that he's got a chance to be a big star. Missing badly with that one. 1 ball and no strikes to Lenny Harris. Nefi Perez back at first base, kind of a free-spirited type, and it kind of drove them crazy at times. But on the other hand, they know he's got great abilities. Harris fouling one back and out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. This ballpark completely filled. The tickets sold very quickly. There's about 27,000 seats here. This is the home of the Monterrey Sultanes of the Mexican League, and probably the finest baseball facility in Mexico. Has kind of a Jack Murphy Stadium look to it with the way they built the light standards. 1 ball, 1 strike, and 1 and 2.
There's a good cut fastball, or we talked about. John, when in batting practice, the ball was really jumping out of here, but it seems that the wind has shifted and looks like the wind's blowing in a little bit now, but the ball was carrying very well in batting practice.
And center field looks like it's blowing straight in from center. There's the U.S. flag out there in center. Middle infield double play depth. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There goes Perez, and he will easily make it in as that ball bounced in the dirt and away from Myers. So Perez gets the steal. Jim Leyland starting the runner with a 1 ball, 2 strike count.
Well, with 2 strikes, Ashby's going to try to get Harris to chase something. A good sinker down. We'll take a look at it. Just a little too low. That was actually a changeup. And he held on to it a little too long.
2 and 2 to Harris. Now a runner at second with 1 out. Struck him out.
Good fastball there. He threw him a changeup, and then he came right back with a good fastball in under the hands.
2 down in the Rockies' first inning, and now Dante Bichette.
After a changeup, it comes with a fastball in under the hands. Very tough pitch. Handle 91 miles an hour.
Dante Bichette, 219 hits last year, a .331 batting average, but as is the case with many of his teammates, and as has been the case almost throughout his Rockies career, he did most of that at home. That's a slider a little bit off the outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Bichette hit .381 in Denver last year and .279 on the road.
He's actually changed his approach a lot too, John. He doesn't drive the ball as much, more flat-footed, hits more line drives to the opposite field. So his power numbers, of course, have started to suffer a little bit because of that. But he's putting the ball in play, and he drives in the runs.
Only 22 home runs last year. I say only.
Well, in Denver, that is only.
But only 5 of those on the road, as you can see. So Vinny Castilla is on deck. 2 down, runner at second in the first inning. And the big crowd here in Monterrey is hoping to see the native son, Castilla, get a shot here in the first inning. 2-0 the count. Nice pitch over the outside with a heater. 2-1. Dante Bichette, he knows about heroics in opening day. The first opener at Coors Field, and Joe and I were there in an extra inning game, a thrilling game with the Mets. He won it for the Rockies with a 3-run homer. Perez ready to run on anything from second base. There's a bloop, shallow right, base hit. Perez is going to score, and the Rockies go ahead 1-0. And the changed approach you were talking about from Dante Bichette. He does that a lot.
Well, you're right. He does it a lot more often now than ever before. That was a slider running away, and he just flipped the bat out there. In the past, he's trying to drive the ball, so he just kind of flipped it out that way. And you can see he's actually going that way. He was fooled a little bit. It was a slider. He just flipped it to right field. When you're that strong, you can do that.
Vinny Castilla, 46 homers, 144 runs batted in last year. .319 average. He loves that first pitch.
Fastball he loves. First pitch fastball hitter.
In the hole. no play. Gomez, nice pickup, but at no play. So an infield single for Vinny Castilla.
Well, he gets a first pitch fastball and he grounds it in the hole for a base hit. Nice play there by Gomez. He almost had a shot at Bichette at second base. You can see swings at that first pitch fastball in the hole. Past Arias. Gomez comes up with it, but he can't get it to second base in time.
So a run in for the Rockies. 2 men on, and here is Todd Helton. Helton, a rookie last year, and ended up being a very strong candidate for Rookie of the Year with those numbers. 315, 25 homers. And he did a lot of damage in the second half of the season in particular. He did not start out real well. In fact, for a while, as he struggled, he became a platoon player, sat down against a lot of tough lefties.
Well, I actually split my vote between he and Curry Wood last year.
Well, he had
the one that I didn't have, the vote I didn't have.
And then Wally Joyner does not cover first base. Myers had Castilla hung up at first. Castilla was halfway to second, but then Bichette held up, but Wally Joyner never broke in to cover first base.
I haven't seen that very often, John, as a first baseman, second baseman, third baseman. Anytime something happens, you run to your bag to cover the bag. You see the ball gets away, and see how far down Castilla is, and all of a sudden Joyner realizes I should have been at the bag, but he's too late.
Wally, the season has started, buddy.
You're responsible for your bag. If you're a second baseman, that's your bag. Third base, first base, same thing.
Spring training's over. A high hard one. Back to the screen. 2 balls and a strike to Todd Helton.
There's a good swing there by Helton, and you know, he and Travis Lee of the Diamondbacks, 2 good young first basemen with beautiful swings. Stars of the future.
On opening night last year, ESPN was in Bank One Ballpark in Phoenix. Helton and Lee both went that night. That's a foul. Back to the screen. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Travis Lee, of course, had the big night with 3 hits in the first game at the Bank One Ballpark. The runners, Bichette was at second. There's Castilla at first. 1 run in for the Colorado Rockies. Rockies who play in the mile-high city of Denver, where the ball really carries. And it may carry well here tonight also. It's 1,500 feet above sea level here in Monterey. We should mention that. That might have been the split finger pitch. That was devastating. The pitch taught to him last year by Dave Stewart. 1-0 as the Padres come up. City of Mountains is Cerro de Silla, which is a symbol of the City of Mountains. And inside the Monterey Stadium, here is the GM batting order for the homestanding San Diego Padres. Kilby Olveras leads off at second base. Reggie Sanders, his first game as a Padre, left field. Tony Gwynn, 72 hits away from 3,000. So he should get it this year, hitting third. Wally Joyner hits cleanup. Greg Myers, the catcher, bats fifth. George Arias replacing Ken Caminetti at third base. Ruben Rivera is in center field, hitting seventh. Chris Gomez at short, and the pitcher Andy Ashby bats ninth. And on the mound for the Rockies, his second consecutive Colorado opening night start is Darryl Kyle, and they're hoping for better things from Darryl this year than leading the majors in losses as he did last year.
But he pitched better the second half. He had some tough losses during the second half. I think he adjusted to pitching in Colorado, but his teammates, he gained a lot of respect from his teammates because they understood that this guy really battled. He gave him 230 innings, and he didn't complain about pitching under conditions in Colorado. So I expect him to do better this year, and if he can get off to a good start, his confidence will build.
Gilvio Veras takes a called strike. Veras, a switch hitter. He had some off-season shoulder surgery. They thought he might miss the first couple of weeks or more of the season, but he proved to be a fast healer. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And one thing that's important for Kyle is that he throws strikes, gets ahead in the count, because he has a very good curveball. And if you get ahead in the count, you can get hitters to chase the curveball.
That's out of play. Now, Kyle last year, pitching in that rarefied air in Denver, had a 6.22 earned run average in the home games. So, I mean, it's just going to ruin your ERA when you pitch so many games there. But on the other hand, his road ERA was not very good either, 4.26. So, although he did certainly rebound in the latter part of the season, it was just not a Darryl Kile kind of a year overall. There's that curveball, and he's got one of the best, maybe the best.
A lot of people, John, say that's part of the problem, that because the air is thin, the curveball doesn't break as much. That's one of the theories. But if that's the case, that means the fastball should be a little faster. So a lot of different theories on why breaking ball pitchers are not successful there.
Down the left field line with that fastball, and Barris drops it right into the bullpen toward Randy Myers. So the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes to Kilvio Barris. You know, Darryl Kile last year went from having the 3rd lowest earned run average in the National League the year before when he was at Houston. And his ERA almost doubled. More than doubled. The Blue, Nathan Perez. And there is one away.
That was a good pitch there, right in on the hands.
One man gone.
Let's take a look at the Rockies defensively. Vinny Castilla at third base, one of the underrated defensive players in the league. When you hit a lot of home runs, they forget about your defense, but he played very well in 1998, as you can see, 13 errors.
It's very hard to become a top third baseman. He had originally been a shortstop. Here's Reggie Sanders, over from the Cincinnati Reds in the very controversial trade of Greg Vaughn to Cincinnati. The big problem with Reggie has been staying healthy. He had one very good year, but has been hurt quite often, all too often ever since.
A variety of injuries too, John, but if he can stay healthy, I mean, he can put up some great numbers for you because he can do everything. He can run, he can hit with power, he can throw, he's a complete player.
The Padres need him to do all of those things. That's a ball. Bring it over the count. Tony Gwynn on deck. By the way, Darryl Kile went from a 2.57 ERA with Houston to a 5.2 ERA last year with Colorado. That was the largest single season increase from one season to the next of any pitcher in the major leagues in this century.
John, you didn't have to do that to him.
Are you kidding? I've been waiting.
Hey, I think he knows that.
I've been waiting 4 months to use that.
That's quite a statistic, though. I mean, for that to double from, especially when you're a good pitcher as Darryl Kile is. I mean, he was one of the best pitchers in the National League for the last few years.
Tell Darryl it wasn't personal, it was business.
There's Milt May. He has been a hitting instructor. Now he's a pitching coach.
Popped up into the twilight down the right field line. Helton, but it is in amongst the spectators. 3-2 to Reggie Sanders. There's very little foul room in this ballpark. The stands are out very close to the field of play.
That makes it a good hitter's ballpark. You're right.
3-2 the count. 325 down each foul line. 405 feet to straightaway center. Of course, the Padres played 3 other games here. In 1996 against the New York Mets, in the 3-game series of the Mets, there were 9 home runs hit. Ken Caminetti hit 3 of them all by himself. 3-2 the count. 1 out, nobody on. The Rockies are leading 1-0 in the first inning. Tony Gwynn on deck. And Sanders gets the walk.
That shows me a little difference in Darryl Kile's mentality right there, John. When he was with Houston, pitch like that 3-2 pitch, bases empty, he would use his curveball in a lot of instances to get the out. He had that much confidence in his curveball. And now it seems that he goes with the standard pitches, 3-2.
Tony Gwynn, as we mentioned, 72 hits away from 3,000. 16 homers last year, hitting .321, which for batting average was not a good year for him. Breaking and merely bluffing, as it turned out, from first was Sanders, but Manwaring didn't realize it, and he fired through to second base.
Well, lucky that Nathan Perez was heads up at second base. You see him break from there, but now Nathan, at least he does go over and cover, because most of the time you do not cover if the guy doesn't break.
Now, was that a bluff, or did he stumble? Or
I think it was a bluff.
1 ball, no strikes to Tony Gwynn. Helton on the bag at first with Sanders. Now he is running. Semi pitch out. Well, it's too bad he wasn't running on the last one when he made the good throw. This time, when it wasn't a bluff, Manwaring, as it turned out, wasted his good throw. This time he bounced it in very wide of the bag, and a steal for Reggie Sanders. And that is the thing you're talking about that Reggie can bring to this ball club.
He gets a good jump, but this pitch is also a tougher pitch. The pitch was outside. He had to bring it back and then make a good throw, and Reggie slides in safely. And that's what we're talking about. They're gonna have to make up for the lack of power by stealing a few bases and using their speed this year.
2-0 to Gwynn, who's awfully tough with a man in scoring position. And Kyle misses low, 3-0. But you know, when you lose Greg Vaughn and his 50 home runs from a year ago, and you've also lost Caminetti.
Right.
Tony Gwynn is the most prolific home run hitter from last year's ball club still in the club with 16. The cleanup hitter on deck, Wally Joyner, hit only 12 home runs. So they may not hit too many this year. 3-1. Gwynn taking all the way.
A lot of guys 3-0 would jump on that triple, so to speak, and hammer it, but Tony Gwynn doesn't need to do that. He can hit any pitch at any time, so he doesn't need to hit triples.
All right, there's Joyner on deck. Curveball. 3-1.
No.
Fastball. And Tony Gwynn. He's 71 hits away. Sanders easily scores. It's tied up. Some things just never change.
You're right, and that's why he doesn't need to hit triples, because he knows he can hit 3-1, 3-0. He can hit it any time. But your point is brought up again is why he wouldn't maybe throw a curveball or something to Tony Gwynn. But I know that he doesn't have the same confidence in his breaking ball he's had before. I mean, that's just a Tony Gwynn swing. Beautiful, level swing, right back through the middle for a base hit. He never tries to do too much with the ball. I think that's the key to his success.
So Gwynn at first after the RBI single. Here is Wally Joyner. And 80 runs batted in last year with 12 home runs. Still one of the slickest fielding first baseman around. And although, as you see his numbers from a year ago, not overly imposing, but this ball club really misses him when he's gone. I mean, they don't win very often when Wally Joyner goes down with an injury. Gwynn at first, Helton on the bag with him. Big hole on the right side. And that's out of play off the left field line. 0-2 to Wally Joyner. Tony Gwynn now is 2,929 and 71 away from 3,000. Wade Boggs, now of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, is 78 hits away from 3,000. And Cal Ripken is 122 away from 3,000. We may have 3 guys for the first time reach 3,000 in the same year. Now there's the curveball. Wow.
But you can see the difference. He got out in front of Wally so he could go ahead and throw the curveball. He was behind the Sanders. He was behind to Tony Gwynn. And you can see that not only does the break get him, but the speed. That's just a beautiful motion there from Darryl Kyle. It's his first strikeout of 1999.
2 down, and Greg Myers coming up. And this is where the Padres lineup, at least until they prove otherwise, starts to look a little thin. Myers, who hit 246 a year ago, the home is hitting 5th, the power spot. Dante Bichette, man, that ball almost sailed right over him. It's 1-1 from Mexico after 1. Sunday Night Baseball beginning our 10th season. The Rockies and Padres 1-1 as we go to the 2nd inning in Mexico tomorrow. Baseball openers all around, and we'll have 3 of them right here on ESPN. Arizona with Randy Johnson going against Kevin Brown of the Dodgers at 4 Eastern. Then we'll get a look at Big Mac 99. The Milwaukee Brewers young lefty Rafael Roque faces Donovan Osborne in St. Louis. And then the world champion Yankees send the Rocket Roger Clemens out against the Oakland Athletics. 10:30 Eastern. Baseball on ESPN all day and into the night tomorrow. The Rockies now batting in the 2nd inning with Mike Lansing. He's another guy they think could be vastly improved this year. He was a big disappointment last year. He's got a base hit. He had some big numbers with the Montreal Expos, and they thought, man, we'd get him up here into this great hitter's ballpark. He could go nuts. But it was just the opposite. He struggled. He had back problems.
high fastball from Ashby. You can see how high it is, and if you're a single ball pitcher, that's the wrong spot to throw it. See how high it is above the belt, and Lansing rips it into center field for a base hit.
And of course, mask cam being worn tonight by Greg Myers of the Padres, and our thanks to him for agreeing to wear it. We'll take you, our viewers, right down behind home plate. Lansing, the runner at first. Lansing had 10 stolen bases last year, although we were expecting a lot of power tonight. We may still get it, but the 2 runs in the first inning each set up by a stolen base. And sinker running in on the inside to Kurt Manwaring with his 0-1. Manwaring hit .247 last year with 2 homers. 1-1 in the second inning. Nathy Perez stole a base for the Rockies. Bichette brought him home with a single. Reggie Sanders got a steal in front of Tony Gwynn for the Padres. 1 ball and 1 strike. We understand there's some kind of a buzz in our audio in the ball game tonight, and we're trying to track that problem down. I just sent Joe out to have a look, see if he can fix it.
Well, we do know it's in the ballpark here someplace.
So we'll figure it out. We'll get it fixed for you. In the meantime, we apologize for the buzz that apparently is being heard in the audio portion of our broadcast. I thought it was you at first, Joe. I was thinking, man, what happened to your voice? 1 ball and 2 strikes to Manwaring. The pitcher, Darryl Kyle, is on deck. The panoramic view of Estadio Monterrey. Look out. Yellow.
Well, one of the things that is happening is that Ashby is getting underneath the ball, and that's why the ball is riding up. You know, even though you're throwing a sinker, you still have to get on top of it so that you get the rotation. But he is getting underneath the ball, and the ball is staying up.
2-2. And 3-2. And again, up with the ball. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Ashby 17-9 last year. But as the number 2 pitcher, there's a little different kind of responsibility when you become the number 1 man. Sometimes it's as simple as just the kind of pitches you have to face. Lansing going. A 3-2 count, and Manwaring fouls it back.
It's one of the things that Manwaring gives you. He can put the ball in play. He can hit and run. And with Lansing at first base, who runs pretty well, they decided to go with a hit and run. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't put him in motion again on this pitch. You stay out of the double play. And Manwaring does put the ball in play most of the time. And Jim Leyland likes the running game. He likes to make things happen.
3-2 the count. Lansing runs. The slider taken, ball 4. So the walk, and that puts 2 men on with Darryl Kyle coming up. The young ball fan here. Las Grandes Ligas in Mexico. Buenas noches, señor. Early evening here in Monterrey. I wasn't quite ready for 90 degrees, not just yet, Joe. It was a hot one today here in Monterrey. Darryl Kyle should be bunting. Padres think so. He was not bunting, but Ashby just can't find the strike zone here. 1 ball, no strikes. Ashby, amongst the first 8 batters of the game for the Rockies, has allowed 4 hits and a walk. So he has not yet settled in. Bruce Bochy got his bullpen back pretty well intact from last year when it was a very strong bullpen. Again, he was not bunting. He was bluffing. And at the same time, the Padres were bluffing, Joe. They looked like they were bluffing the rotation play.
Well, I think they were going to use the rotation play, but you start the rotation play, and if he doesn't square around, or he squares around and then changes to a hitting position, then you stop where you are.
Joyner very shallow at first. This time he was showing bunt, pulled the bat away, and took a strike. 2-1. So there are all kinds of things going on in the infield right now. Every infielder moving around. The runners hoping to get a good jump. It's got to be a very good bunt here because there's a force out at third base. Lansing's got to get a good jump to get over there, but he also has to be careful not to get picked off. Gomez, the shortstop, playing behind him. This time the rotation play is on, and he does swing away, but it's foul. Rather anticlimactic. I mean, when the rotation plays on, the whole middle of the infield is wide open.
Well, it's kind of interesting here that this is not typical Jim Leyland baseball. When you have, as you take a look at this from Mastcam again, when you have the pitcher up, runners at first and second, he normally would bunt in this situation. Maybe he's preparing himself for Coors Field, where he knows that 2 runs may not be enough.
Well, he did hit 254 last year. Now he shows bunt, and he takes the ball. So Ashby very erratic here in getting the ball over the plate. 3-2. Well, here's a chance for Leyland to really show some guts, Jim.
Well, I don't know if that's a wise play. You mean by putting the hit and run on?
I love that
You
play.
can run yourself right out of this inning as well.
Well, that's true. I mean, it may not be smart, but it's very exciting. I want a little excitement. Kyle showing bunt. He doesn't need to. Andy Ashby has walked another, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. I mean, he has walked the 2 weakest hitters in the Rockies batting order, and here comes the new pitching coach, Dave Smith, out to have a chat with him. As the Colorado now with the top of the order coming up and nobody out has a great opportunity for a big inning.
Well, this is a situation where if you're a sinker ball pitcher as Ashby is, you have to say to yourself, I'm going to bend, I'm going to get on top of the ball, I'm going to make sure that if I walk anyone, it's because they're low and out of the strike zone, not high as he's been prone to do here in the second inning. He's going to have to get on top of the ball and make sure he gets the ball down.
Darrell Hamilton. Not a whole lot of strategy involved here. Bases loaded, nobody out. Darrell Hamilton at the first pitch of 1999 for a single in the left field. He was 1 for 1. And it's too high again. Lansing, runner at third, he led off the inning with a single. Manwaring at second, he walked. Kyle at first, he walked. Tommy Sant, the first base coach, chatting with him. Anxious moments here early in the game for Bruce Bochy. Center field, that's a base hit. Lansing scores. Manwaring, who is not very fast, will hold at third. And it is 2-1 Colorado. And the Rockies now, this is the way they do it in Denver. A couple of walks, a couple of bloops, and then they got 5 runs on the board against you.
Well, the good thing here is he gets the ball down. Watch, this is a low pitch. He got it down a little bit, but because he had missed with so many pitches, Hamilton was sitting on a fastball. He gave him the fastball in the middle of the plate. He lined it back through the middle for a base hit.
Darrell Hamilton is 2 for 2. Gets his first RBI of the year. 2-1 the score. The infield double play depth here. Neifi Perez, who hit into a force play his first time, standing in. Base hit. Manwaring scores. Kyle will be held at third as Tony Gwynn fires through.
Fastball up.
Neifi Perez with the single and the RBI. 3-1. And Ashby may not be long for this game.
Watch where this pitch is. Fastball up. And if you're a sinker ball pitcher, you cannot live upstairs. Just to lose the dive of Wally Joyner at first base. Tony Gwynn has been a Gold Glove winner in the past. He makes a good throw in.
And the bullpen is ready. Or getting ready. Brian Boehringer, a right-hander, warming up as Bochy and Dave Smith talk it over. Here is Lenny Harris. He got a slider there and fouled it back. It's
well, that was a smart pitch, John. You got to go to something else. You can't just let these major league hitters stand out there and know you're going to throw a fastball. Even if you miss, you've got to throw a change up. You've got to change some speeds. You got to throw a slider or a change up. Do something different.
Bases loaded, nobody out, 2 runs in. Cleanup man Dante Bichette on deck. And he pulled that one foul. So quickly, Ashby's ahead 0-2 here to Lenny Harris. I mean, we're in the second inning of this game, but this is the key to this ball game perhaps right now. I mean, if Ashby can somehow keep this from getting completely out of hand, Padres will remain in the game. But the Rockies are threatening to break it open right here. 0-2 the count. 1-2. He has faced 11 batters as Ashby, and 8 of them have reached base against him.
John, one thing that the lack of power hurts when it hurts you most is when you get behind in ball games. You can't come back, you know, with one swing, picking up 3 runs here, 2 runs there. So you cannot afford to fall behind when you do not have a lot of power.
Fighting it off, Lenny Harris. 1 ball and 2 strikes. You saw the base runners. Kyle at third, Hamilton at second, Perez at first. Nobody out. The first 5 hitters in a row have reached base here. And Ashby was his own worst enemy, walking the 8th and 9th place hitters. The 9th place hitter, Darryl Kyle, actually was trying to make it out. He wouldn't let it. 1-2 the count. Into left field. And that's in front of Sanders. Another run will score. Kyle is in. 6 straight Rockies have reached. It is 4-1 Colorado.
And it's just really is pretty simple what is happening if you just watch the pitch location. All these pitches are up, and he doesn't throw hard enough to pitch up in the strike zone. Look where the pitch is. Fastball, belt high, and there's not much going on there. These hitters are going to hit those pitches. They're going to get them in the air. That's the point. If you're a single ball pitcher, you get the ball down, you get some ground balls.
Ricky Sanders got caught in it, and in between hop there. I think he had to barehanded to keep it from shooting right past him. Now Dante Bichette, the cleanup man. 3 runs already in, nobody out. 3 men on. That's an Andy Ashby pitch.
That may be the best pitch he's thrown the entire ball game. 93-mile-an-hour fastball over the outside corner with good movement. And down.
Boehringer, number 37, ready in the bullpen now if needed. We'd like to see Ashby get out of this jam, though. And Bichette into the alleyway in right center. Tony Gwynn cuts it off. Hamilton has scored. Perez right behind him. Harris to third. It is truly a big inning. 5 runs are in. 6-1 Colorado. Still nobody out. Vinny Castilla coming up. And coming out will be Andy Ashby as Bochy is going out with the hook.
Well, this is good hitting by Dante Bichette. We talked about how he goes the other way. Pitch was down and was away, but he doesn't try to pull it. He just reaches out and flips it in the right field. 2 RBIs.
So 5 runs are in, and now the big slugger, Vinny Castilla, coming up. We'll be right back. Hander Brian Boehringer on the pitch now for the Padres in the 2nd inning. A very early exit. The starting pitcher, Andy Ashby, never got an out here in the 2nd. And 6 runs are already on the board for the Colorado Rockies. Vinny Castilla at the plate with runners at 1st and 3rd. Nobody out. Started him with a slider. Castilla had that big cut. There's about 27,000 fans in this ballpark. I'd like to see Vinny hit one there. Vinny Castilla from Oaxaca. He was acquired by the Atlanta Braves from Saltillo. And then he was a expansion draft choice of the Colorado Rockies.
Great pick. Boehringer has a very good splitter, so now he's ahead in the count. He may be able to use it because he needs a strikeout.
Those are those fastball misses. And the flash bulbs are going off all around this ballpark, as they were for McGuire and Sosa the last couple of months of last season. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the middle infield, double play depth, with runners at 1st and 3rd. Tough pitch. Good fastball down and in. 1 ball and 2 strikes. There's Harris at 3rd base with Bichette at 1st, who already has 2 hits and 3 RBIs in this one. The flash bulbs going off, as we mentioned. The slider, but the catcher setting up outside. That ball didn't do much sliding. It stayed up and in.
Well, he dropped down. He was trying to throw a sidearm slider, and he did not get it across the plate. Get good rotation on it.
2-2. Jansen. Gomez still going on. A windy night here in Monterey, but Gomez did a nice job. And after 7 consecutive Rockies had reached base, we finally have the first out of the second inning.
Boehringer made some good pitches there. He got out in front, and then he finally threw 2 fastballs in, and he jammed Castillo.
One down. Todd Helton now a double play would end the inning. The Rockies ahead 6-1 in the second inning. Andy Ashby, who had a great beginning last season. I mean, his first 4.5 months were just sensational. At the moment, if nobody else scores, Ashby will have a 54.0 earned run average. He's got to do some very good pitching to get that down. Ashby had a few games similar to this one late last season. Thursday of the season very poorly after being so outstanding the rest of the year. So this was certainly one of the worst nightmares that Bruce Bochy and general manager Kevin Towers could have had to see their new #1 starter fail so miserably on opening night. 3-0 to Helton. Lansing, who led off the inning with a single, is on deck. Ashby 1 inning plus tonight. That is the shortest outing of his major league career. Swinging away on 3-0.
John, it's difficult for 2 reasons. One, you want, Bruce Bochy wanted to get him some innings in because he's still building arm strength for the season. I mean, spring training is just over. You're still getting your pitching staff in order. You would like to get him more pitches than, he threw in this ball game. He needs some innings.
3-1 the count. 3-2.
Good fastball. That's always a difficult decision for managers to make the first week or so of the season. How long do you stay with your starter? Because you know he needs some innings. You know you want to get him some work. Yet, you have to win the ball game.
He threw only 45 pitches,
which is not nearly as many as you'd like in the first out.
Castillo running from first. Down to third and off the glove of Arias.
I don't understand that play. You're already down 6-1. If you can get out of the inning, go ahead and take it. If you throw to second base, because Bichette had stopped. Bichette has stopped. Now watch, he'll take off because he's basically looking like he can run. Now he's hung up. I mean, if nothing else, run towards him. But I mean, you can't just let him walk on into second base. Now he tried to throw to third base. Harris wasn't that far off the bag anyway.
So not much going right for the Padres at the moment. Here's Lansing, the man who led off the inning with a single, starting what so far has been a 5-run rally. We're only in the second inning. Mike Lansing. Runners at second and third, 2 down. First base open. Boehringer the pitcher. Slider foul back to the screen quickly. It is no balls and 2 strikes. Dugout, the 2 runners, Harris at third, Bichette at second.
Bochy being a former catcher, I'm sure he was not pleased with exactly what happened there. And when you're down 6-1, you just can't let that happen with 2 outs.
Well, we saw Wally Joyner fall asleep in the first inning. And a questionable decision here by Greg Myers. The Padres not looking very sharp at the moment, that's to say the least. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Gerald Kyle, meanwhile, said, hey, it is great to be young and a Rocky.
And have 6 runs in the second inning and a 5-run lead.
This is what they promised me when I signed here.
Right.
Just a bit low. 2-2 the count.
So they promised me if I give up 4, they get 5.
Yeah. Or as is often the case with the Rockies, if I give up 6, they give me 8. 2-2, 2 down, 2 on. Foul away. I mean, you know, come to think of it, Joe, I mean, even with a 5.20 ERA, in the context of being the Colorado Rockies, that is not all that bad. He probably could consider himself under-supported in the context of pitching half his games at Denver. 2-2 the count.
It reminds me of a statement Jack Billingham once made to me when I played with him at the Reds. He says, "Get me 9, I'll be fine. But if you get me 10, I know I can win."
Jack Billingham almost never lost a game when the Reds got him 10.
Right.
3-2 the count. And back out of play. The slider. Still 3-2. It was 0-2 to Lansing. Boringer started nibbling. Has gone full with Lansing. Manwaring would be next. 2 down in the second inning. Larry Walker, the batting champion in the National League last year, the MVP the year before, not even playing tonight for Colorado. Struck in. With low fastball, foul tipped into the glove. But it is 6-1 Colorado after 1.5.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Oracle Applications. Better information for better decision making.
Monterrey, Mexico. The home team, the Padres, are way behind already, but it's only the second inning. Darryl Kyle's got a long way to go now as he faces George Arias and misses ball 1. Arias from Tucson, Arizona, takes over at third base for the Padres for Ken Caminetti, who is back with Houston. He had a big year last year, was the minor league player of the year for the Padres after hitting 36 homers with 119 RBIs for Las Vegas. Second time as a minor leaguer that he's reached 30 home runs and 100 RBIs in a season. Used to be in the Angels system. And he has to lean back from that one. 2 balls and a strike. Arias, then Ruben Rivera and Chris Gomez. 2 of the top young prospects for the Padres coming up to start this inning. Arias and then Rivera. And Kyle misses. 3-1. Now, there were 46 pitches thrown in the first half of this inning. I mean, that's half of a game for some pitchers. 46 pitches thrown by Andy Ashby and Brian Boringer. Nice pickup by Castilla. Throws him out. And there is one away. What about Major League Baseball one day coming here? What would it be like for an American player if he were to play here? Alvaro Martin, what do you think?
John, we took a chance and we took a look at one of the nice areas of town called El Valle, the Valley, and we went house hunting. You're about to see this house, which is a 6,500 square foot house, 2-story residence, a pool for $150,000, not including the cars in the garage. It's a very, very nice home in a nice part of town. And of course, if you want to send your kids to the American school, it's a 70-year-old institution. 2 years ago, they moved into a new $20 million facility. K through 12, they issue SATs. You can go to college from here. Their alumni go straight to Harvard and Stanford.
John, it's 6,500 square feet for $150,000. Maybe I can commute.
we could get a place together and share it.
Commute, yeah.
Save a fortune. Thanks, Alvaro. The school, by the way, the principal of the school is my brother-in-law. I know him. Oh, Russ Jones and his wife Kim. His wife Kim showed our camera crew around the school. A beautiful spot here in Monterrey.
You know people everywhere. You knew people in Cuba last week.
I'm what you call connected.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One day, if I ever get back to the States, I know a few people there too. After the single by Rivera, Gomez, shallow right, and the catch by Harris, and that's out number 2. And that will bring up the pitcher, Boringer. 6-1, Colorado leading. I saw some beautiful homes today myself. I wouldn't, I would not shopping, but I saw them.
Well, I was in the room reading my notes, getting ready for tonight's game.
I said, Joe, let's go out and take a look. He said, no, I gotta prepare for this game. It's opening night. I'm reading my notes. Here's Boehringer. What kind of a hitter is he? Did it say in your notes?
Well, I wasn't expecting him this early.
Back to Kyle. Anyway, I gave you a chance to shine there, Joe. It's gone. Vinny Castilla flashing some leather. It's all Rockies right now. 6-1 Colorado. The old quarter where the city's first settlers lived. The architecture dates back to the 12th century. Today the area is home to numerous cafes and restaurants.
And good music.
Joe would know that because he was too busy reading his notes. That, of course, is in Monterrey. And there's 2 R's. You really have to roll the R's, Joe.
You do.
You could do it. 6-1. Come on, Monterrey. Like Big Red Machine.
I can identify with that.
Mucho gusto, amigos. Kurt Manwaring, the hitter. We're in the 3rd inning now. Manwaring walked his first time. That was one of the turning points of the nightmare in the 2nd inning for Andy Ashby. After Lansing singled, he had Manwaring in a hole, and then he lost him. He walked him. The 8th place hitter. Boehringer on in relief. Now it's 3-2 to Manwaring. Somebody got to throw this guy a strike, Joe. Three and 2 the count. Back into the upper deck. Manwaring last year hit .247 with 2 home runs. Now to play again. Fighting it off. Darryl Kyle, the pitcher, on deck. A run in the 1st. And then 5 in the 2nd for the Rockies. Dante Bichette has 2 singles and 3 RBIs in this game already. Back to the screen. So Kurt Manwaring battling it out here with Brian Boehringer. Manwaring, an outstanding catcher, and has always been very well respected for his abilities as a receiver, but has never hit a whole lot. To 3rd. And Arias shows a pretty good arm, and there is 1 away. Now let's go to our colleague Alvaro Martin.
I'm joined by President and COO of Major League Baseball, Paul Beeston. Paul, you've had a lot of experience in Toronto with a franchise not based in the U.S. First of all, have you received any concrete proposals in the last 5-6 years from a group in Mexico or a group interested in moving to Mexico?
No, nothing concrete. I mean, last time that we expanded, obviously there was talk about it. Nothing concrete came forward at that time.
Given your experience in Canada, what are the special challenges from a group trying to set up a team here in Mexico?
Quality of ownership, size of stadium, the support, whether it be from the community, whether it be from the fans, whether it be from the corporate community, whether it be from the media. But basically, you need the support of the fans, and, you know, pretty exciting here tonight.
27,000. What about the reaction of the players themselves? Will it be difficult to get them to play here?
I don't know. I mean, they came out of Canada. I mean, there's always some questions. But, you know, when you get a good community with a lot of people that are supporting it and coming out, making it fun to go to play the game, you can get players to go.
Thank you very much. Joe, John?
All right, Alvaro. Thanks, and thanks to Paul Beeston. Major League Baseball, 1969, expanded to Canada for the first time when Montreal came into the league. And then 1977, Toronto was added, and they became one of the real premier franchises in the American League, especially after moving into the Sky Dome. Through the middle, and Darryl Kyle has a base hit. They can't get him out. He walked his first time, and this time he shoots one through the middle.
I actually sat for a long time last night with Paul Beeston, and we talked about Mexico and other places that may eventually have or support a Major League Ball club. And I found that they are interested in, you know, making this a worldwide game.
Well, that's
but it's not going to be easy.
That is why Major League Baseball was behind this game tonight. San Diego Padres have their own special reasons for playing here. as this is their game, because they are so close to the U.S.-Mexican border there in San Diego, that because of their unique geography, they have been working very diligently at marketing themselves in Mexico. Large groups of people regularly come to Padres games from Mexico, and they feel that playing down here in Mexico resonates with the fans down here. That the Padres are the team that is intent on bringing Major League Baseball to Mexico. So they feel, especially when they move into the new ballpark, getting a lot of support from the fans in Mexico will be critical for their long-term success. Major League Baseball looking at becoming much more of an international sport, fell behind the effort as well. And this will be a double play. Gomez jumping it short to catch the liner by Hamilton, doubling up Kyle, caught well off the bag at first, and the inning is over. 6-1 Colorado. Top of the order coming up. Gwynn will be due up third for the Padres. Tonight in our 10th season of Sunday Night Baseball, the Rockies lead the Padres 6-1 in the last of the third inning. Next Sunday, we'll be back in the U.S. in Texas, and we'll get a look at Juan Gonzalez, the great slugger of the Rangers. He takes on Mo Vaughn, and the Anaheim Angels from the ballpark in Arlington should be Tim Belcher and Aaron Seeley. Sunday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We hope that you will join us then. Kilvio Veras, the leadoff man for the Padres. They need to get something going here. They've got a lot of catching up to do, but a lot of time in which to do it. And you mentioned, Joe, that lack of power works against a team trying to play catch up. On the other hand, when it's only the third inning, I mean, you don't have to get 3 and 4 at a time.
The problem is you take away that part of your speed because you do not want to run yourself out of innings.
Todd Helton will take it himself, and Kilvio Veras is now 0 for 2. Every Sunday, Joe and I are with you from all around baseball, and also every Sunday on the radio, ESPN Radio. Charlie Steiner on the right. Charlie, pay attention. Come on, man. Charlie Steiner and Rick Sutcliffe is joining Charlie this year for Sunday Night Baseball on the radio.
Maybe they're doing it off of our monitors. They're not looking at the field.
What's going on back there?
Dave Campbell's also going to do some of the Sunday radio broadcasts with Charlie.
All right. So if you're out and about, catch the game on the radio every Sunday night. Charlie Steiner and either Rick Sutcliffe or Dave Campbell.
John, I checked my notes. Bullringer is 0 for 7 as a hitter. Also, I checked my notes and I found that Vinny Castilla is wearing, he changed his number in honor of Andres Galarraga. He's wearing a number 17 to, you know, honor Andres Galarraga. And it's just for tonight. 14. I said 17. There it is. You see 14.
The big cat, Gato Grande, Andres Galarraga, the former Rocky, teammate of Vinny Castilla. And Andres, of course, battling cancer. And we send on along all of our prayers and best wishes to Andres Galarraga as he battles and promises, vows to be back next year with Atlanta. And we're confident that he will. Vinny Castilla wearing his number tonight in honor of Andres Galarraga. 2-2. That looked like a split-fingered pitch. Reggie Sanders over the top of it.
Well, the movement looked like a split-fingered pitch, but it was pretty fast, 92 miles an hour. Pretty good splitter. There you see number 14 also being won by Nathan Perez.
2-2. There's the curveball. Got him looking. Man, he threw a couple of real tough pitches there to Reggie Sanders.
Well, he's famous for his overhand curveball, and you'll see not only does it break big, but the speed on the outside corner. Beautiful pitch from Darryl Kyle.
Now Tony Gwynn. He singled home a run in the first inning. Now 71 hits away from 3,000. And the curveball. It is 0-1.
6-1 Colorado in the last of the third inning.
And this could be the best thing for Darryl Kyle to get off to a good start this year, because with a 6-1 lead, you can experiment, so to speak. Now you see him throwing more breaking balls. In the first inning, he didn't throw many breaking balls. Now he's ahead. He can try to get the rhythm on his breaking ball and use it even in situations where he may not have used it early in the ball game before he had the 6 runs.
I tell you what, it's not that easy to make Tony Gwynn look that bad on a pitch.
The only time I've ever seen Tony look bad has been on a changeup.
Well, came in with another curve, and Gwynn was right on it, but right to shortstop Perez. 3 up and 3 down. 6-1 Colorado after 3. Back in Mexico, Neifi Perez takes a ball inside from Brian Boehringer. Perez has hit into a force play and scored a run and singled home a run. Driven home 1, scored 2. Boehringer misses low. 2 balls, no strikes. Lenny Harris on deck, and then Dante Bichette due up third. Colorado Rockies opening the year against one of their Western Division opponents, the San Diego Padres. And the Rockies will play 14 of their first 20 games against teams from the West, like San Diego and Los Angeles, San Francisco, Arizona. Another 3 of those first 20 will be played against the Atlanta Braves, who've been the best team in the league for quite a while. So 17 of their first 20 games, Joe. Awfully important games for the Rockies. They started out very poorly last year, and we could get a good read on what kind of a year they're going to have in the first 3 weeks this year. Ruben Rivera calls off the shortstop Gomez, and there is 1 away here in the Rockies 4. Now let's go to our colleague Alvaro Martin.
John, I'm joined by Jose Maiz Garcia, the owner of Sultanes de Monterrey, a man who really put a lot behind this game, and also the left field of the 1957 Little League World Champion. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions in Spanish. First of all, why Monterrey and not Mexico City if you have an expansion team here in Mexico?
Porque aquí tenemos muchos más aficionados, muchas ciudades cerca de aquí, de la frontera, incluso del sur de Texas podrían venir. Podríamos construir un estadio para 50,000 gentes y creo que sería estupendo tener aquí béisbol de grandes ligas.
He says you're very close to the border. You could bring a lot of people from the States, and you can easily build a 50,000-plus stadium here. ¿Y qué se requiere para organizar un buen plan de ataque? What do you need to set up an expansion bid that's worthwhile for Major League Baseball?
Well, que haya algún medio de comunicación que esté interesado, grandes inversionistas mexicanos o extranjeros, que vengan también extranjeros. Y también quiero decirles que aquí no se necesitaría hacer un dom porque nunca llueve, es otra gran ventaja. Y la otra es que hay una gran seguridad en nuestra ciudad, no hay secuestros, no hay nada de eso.
This is a very safe city. You would really basically need an open air stadium that doesn't really rain here, but you would need foreign and domestic capital, especially a media company to get involved. Interestingly enough, brings a foreign company for this to pull it off. Back to the booth.
All right, well, that was pretty interesting. Thanks, Alvaro Martin, who was with us in Cuba last Sunday, and again here in Monterrey from our ESPN International. That was baseball and sports for them. Here is Dante Bichette up for the first time with nobody on base. He's been pretty effective with men on. He drove home a run with a bloop single to right in the first inning. Drove in 2 runs with a line single to right center in the second. From Mask Can, being worn by Greg Myers, the Padres catcher. That one down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Right there in the middle of the catcher's mask. So we're literally seeing what he's seeing. And that's too low. 2 balls and a strike. 6 runs and 9 hits for the Rockies. 1 run and 2 hits for San Diego. And that's a foul into the upper deck off to the right. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Monterrey in the metropolitan area is about 4.5 million population. Of course, about 600 miles away from here is the city of Mexico City. And in what you call the metropolitan area of Mexico City, there are maybe 25 million or more. That's pretty big population. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Dante Bichette. Well, he did it again.
Well, that's the new Dante Bichette. I mean, that was a pretty good pitch. Look, to drop down, throw him a little slide piece away, and he just flipped it into center field for a base hit. When he gets 2 strikes now, John, he just cuts down on his swing, and he's so strong, he can flip it over the infield. Watch this. I mean, this is not the swing of a slugger. Look at that. I mean, he just kind of throws the bat at the ball, guides it with his front arm. He doesn't use his wrist or anything, just kind of keeps the bat level and flips it out there.
And, of course, anytime you can keep an inning going and get this guy up there, you've done your job. Vinny Castilla. He has an infield single and has popped up to short. Ooh. First ball fastball hitter. He threw him a fastball and got it by him. What happened? I can't believe it. That is Vinny Castilla's mom, and on the right of the picture, his wife Samantha. Left center field, base hit. Rivera cuts it off. Bichette will stop at second. Vinny Castilla is 2 for 3.
And Castilla hit 315 last year, so he's a good hitter as well as a power hitter. Not a bad pitch. Fastball away, and you can see his family is excited, along with most of the fans here.
Vinny Castilla, with his brother and sister, raised by his mom and dad in Oaxaca. His father was a teacher, and he had a lot of jobs teaching. Time taken here, by the way, is some debris went out onto the field. Some fans started celebrating Vinny's base hit by throwing some debris out on the field in left center field. So they're going to remove that from the field.
John, we're talking about Dante Bichette and his approach. I mean, he had 219 base hits last year. And, I mean, he is just a guy that's going to put the ball in play. And you get ahead of him, he's going to flip you to right, keep everything back through the middle. If he can get ahead of you 2-0 maybe, he may try to turn on some and drive the ball. So it's going to be more difficult to pitch to Dante than it was in the past. Last year and as well as this year.
Especially dangerous with men out there in scoring position, because it looks like it'll be awfully tough, as you say, to get the ball by him.
And the outfielders have to play so deep in Colorado that a lot of balls drop in front of them.
Todd Helton, he is the only Rockies hitter who has not so much as reached base in this game. He struck out twice. 6-1, though, Colorado leading without him. 2 on, 2 out in the 4th inning. And back to the screen. 0-2 the count. 2 men on, as we mentioned. Bichette at second. Castilla is at first. Vinny Castilla's father was a teacher. In the daytime, he taught elementary school. And then he had a second job. He taught high school students at night. Carlos Castilla is his father's name. Carmelo Castilla. There's his dad, Carlos. Now, when Vinny started making enough money in the majors, the first thing he did, he bought his parents a new home in Oaxaca and 2 cars.
Well, he buy one of those models we saw.
He can afford it. And that was he's a good son. When Vinny first came to the U.S. with the Atlanta Braves, he hardly spoke any English. He was very lonely, very discouraged in the low minors, and he almost quit and went home. That's back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Helton. And that is not an altogether uncommon experience for players from Latin America who come to the U.S. He's a fellow Oaxacan. This is Vinny Castilla from Oaxaca. Colorado Rockies, as we mentioned earlier, drafted him in the expansion draft, but they weren't overly excited about getting him, Joe. He was their 20th pick. They picked 19 other guys in front of him. 19 other guys, I might add, who have not hit 46 home runs in a season in the big leagues. Joyner got a tough hop, stays with it nicely. Moringer gets the put out to retire Helton. 2 men left, 6-1. Colorado. Wally Joyner will be coming up when we come back. And Sunday night baseball, Rockies 6, Padres 4 as we move to the last of the 4th inning. This week we'll be honoring number 41 on the countdown of the top 50 athletes of the past century. Track legend Wilma Rudolph, number 41. She was the 20th of 22 children born into a poor family in Tennessee. Diagnosed with polio at an early age, she persevered and went on to become the first African-American to win 3 gold medals in the Olympics. That's Friday, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. Wally Joyner, 1 ball, no strikes, facing Darryl Kile. Joyner struck out his first time. Darryl Kile, on whose shoulders rests a great deal of the hope of the Colorado Rockies at being a much better ball club this year. There's that great curveball. Fouled back. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, last year on opening night, he dominated the Arizona Diamondbacks at the Bank One ballpark. Won the game 9-2. But it was not, as it turned out, an omen of things to come, because it came undone for him very quickly early last season. He had a real tough time putting it together. That curve misses high and away.
Pitchers
2 balls, 2 strikes.
John, pitchers are much different than everyday players for a couple of reasons. An everyday player, if he strikes out today, he's right back out there tomorrow. You know, has a chance to make up for a bad night. If you're a starting pitcher and you give up 4 or 5 runs in the first inning, you have to wait 5 days before you get back out there again. And that can work on your psyche, and it makes it more difficult, you know, to keep your confidence when you're a starting pitcher than it does as an everyday player.
Wally Joyner gets the base hit. Yeah, Andy Ashby lasted 1 inning plus tonight. He'll have to wait a few days.
Yeah. Well, more than 5 now because of the 12 days they'll go on the 5th day and not use the 5th starter. But that's one of the tough things about being a starting pitcher as compared to being an everyday player.
Here now is Greg Myers. Well, Kyle, new ball club, new environment, going from a very good pitcher's park at the Astrodome to the worst pitcher's park in the history of the game, Coors Field in Denver. Strike 1 to Myers. His ERA, as we mentioned earlier, was over 6 in Denver. And Pedro Estacio, another guy that we're very excited about, the former Dodger. There's Pedro charting pitches tonight. His full season ERA, home and away, ended up being over 6.
But he was just the opposite. He actually started off well there, you know, when he first went over there.
He was there
from L.A.
The tail end of the previous season.
Yeah, and he pitched very well, so they were anticipating a lot from Pedro.
But Pedro's ERA in Denver last year, 7.39. And that's not too good, Joe. Even I know that.
He definitely needs Jack Billingham's theory.
Well, it was 7.39 and his record was 7-7. So they got 10 for him a few times.
A few times.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Myers. George Arias is on deck. Darryl Kile facing Myers, who lined out to left center his first time. In the 4th inning, 6-1, Colorado leading. Fastball fouled out of play into the upper deck. But the Rockies were a big disappointment last year. And you look at their big 2 pitchers that had them so excited. Kyle had a 5.2 ERA, finished below 500. Estacio had an ERA over 6. 6.23 and finished below 500. So Jim Leyland, they're hoping he'll be able to turn things around, and he probably would do well to start by turning those 2 guys around.
Yeah, that would.
Milt May, the new pitching coach, following Leyland into Colorado.
And this is the first year that Milt May has been a pitching coach. He was a hitting instructor, the hitting coach for the Marlins when they won the World Championship a couple of years ago, and last year as well.
2-2. That's a full count now to Myers. You know, you mentioned, Joe, a pitcher having to wait, 3, 4, 5 days after a bad outing before he's able to get out there and atone for that, and how that can play on his psyche. Andy Ashby is an example of that tonight. He'll have to wait a few days. But how about this? The last time he pitched before tonight was in last year's World Series in Game 2 against the Yankees. He gave up 7 runs and 10 hits in that game. had to wait four and a half months trying to atone for that, and look what happened.
And I'll tell you what, I guarantee he replayed every pitch during the offseason. That's part of the problem is when you go out there and you make mistakes and you get knocked around, you replay every pitch every day. Say, I don't want to make this mistake again. I don't want to do this. And you actually think too much. As I said, if you're an everyday player, you strike out 3 times, go 0 for 4, that, you know, less than, 24 hours, you're back out there again.
3-2. Myers really battling it out here with Kyle.
And it was interesting, John, we had a picture there of Ashby. He was over there working on his grip for that sinker, and it was not sinking tonight. You see him right there, he's working on his sinker ball grip, and it wasn't sinking. And the splitter, he's working on his grips. He's not upstairs. He's out, sitting in the dugout.
Bruce Bochy has his mind, meanwhile, out here. Well, that's pretty good at bat for Greg Myers. I mean, he really worked to get that walk from Darryl Kyle. A 9-pitch at bat that puts 2 men on with nobody out. And George Arias is coming up as Kurt Manwaring goes out to chat with Kyle. Milt May, the pitching coach, alongside Jim Leland. George Arias.
I don't know how much Milt May knows about being a pitching coach, but he was a very good hitting instructor. He knew a lot about hitting.
So maybe just tells him the opposite of what he used to tell the hitters.
And Dave Duncan was a catcher at one time and a very accomplished pitching instructor.
Well, that curveball did not do it. Very high, 1 ball, no strikes. 2 men on. This is the first time that Kyle has had to face a 2 men on situation in this game. 6-1. He certainly has a cushion. But now he's behind 2-0 to Arias. So he needs a big pitch right here. And based on what we saw earlier, got to be a fastball. What do you think?
Well, you definitely, with a 6-1 lead, you got to go with the fastball. The last thing you want to do is walk another hitter here in this inning.
So we'll see if Arias gets one to hit here.
That was a pretty good pitch because it was moving in on Arias. That had a lot of movement on it, the fastball did. Watch the movement. It starts pretty much in the middle of the plate. Right there in the middle. You see it's tailing in sharply on Arias, and he had to hit it foul.
So he needed a strike with a fastball, and he threw a very good fastball. 2-1 the count. Joyner at second, Myers at first. And now he's behind 3-1. Ruben Rivera is on deck. Another one of the young guys for whom the Padres are hoping the future is now.
And you can see Jim Leland asking Milt May something about Kyle.
3-1.
As a hitting instructor, Milt May used to stand by Leland a lot, and they talk about the hitter. I think the pitching coach, he's going to learn you've got to get away from it. You don't want to stand there too often. You don't see pitching coaches standing around their managers a lot. The manager usually has a call for them, especially if the pitcher's struggling a little bit.
Ruben Rivera on deck. George Arias, 36 home runs last year for Las Vegas in AAA ball. And that's foul. So Arias battling it with Kyle here. So with a 5-run lead, if you're Arias, you just think it fastball all the way.
Well, you have to. I mean, with 2 strikes, you have to look for the fastball anyway and adjust to the breaking ball. So, I mean, because if you're looking breaking ball, the fastball go right by you. But if you're looking fastball, you can always try to make an adjustment to hit something slower. So with 2 strikes, you just about have to sit on the fastball and adjust.
Any Padre hitter who wonders what they should be thinking should just ask that guy. Tony Gwynn. 3-2 to Arias. Kyle will try it again. Nice pickup by Castilla. They get 1. Lansing to first. 2. Double play. Over to third base, Joyner.
And you don't do it any better than that. The play was actually made by Castillo because he came and got the ball. A lot of times you see a third baseman back up, and that puts pressure on the second baseman to make the play. Now watch him. His first move, here he comes to get the ball. So he comes to get it instead of backing up. And that takes all the pressure off the second baseman. Watch, runner not even in the picture because he got it to him so quickly. It makes it just like playing catch. But if he backs up on that ball, the runner would get a lot of pressure on the second baseman, make it a tough play. So Castillo made a very good play there.
Ruben Rivera, and now Kyle, who can relax perhaps just a little bit, at least mentally, drops in a beautiful curveball for a strike. I mean, he was a pitch away from 3 men on and nobody out. Now he's got 2 out with a runner at third. And another curveball. Strike 2 to Rivera. Colorado bullpen ready just in case. The right-hander is Jerry DePoto. The left-hander, Bobby Jones. Leland will be ready just in case. Kyle is making a little bit nervous here at the start of this inning. Drops down from the side. Manwaring running into Kyle, but makes the play anyway. So Kyle gets out of a jam very nicely. 6-1 Colorado after 4. Strike 1 to Mike Lansing, who has singled and struck out. Facing Brian Boringer now in the 5th inning. 6-1. Colorado is leading. Lansing, the 7th place hitter, will be followed by Kurt Manwaring and then Darryl Kyle. Base hit. So Lansing is 2 for 3.
And a good job of hitting there by Lansing. Fastball away, and he goes the other way with it. And this is a very quick infield. In fact, the outfield is very fast as well. You can see it's a fastball toward the outside part of the plate. Reaches out and slaps it into right field for a base hit. But the outfield is very quick, and it also has some bumps in it, but the infield is fast as well.
Kurt Manwaring has walked and grounded out to third. Bullpen activity going for San Diego Padres once again. Brian Boringer has done a heck of a job. He's pitched 3 innings now since coming on for Ashby without allowing a run. In fact, he inherited a real tough spot with runners at first and third, nobody out in the 2nd inning, and didn't even allow either of those guys to score. That's a base hit for Manwaring. But this has become a long outing for Boringer now. He does not often go longer than 3. 6-1 Colorado. And the Outback Steakhouse pitching summary. Darryl Kyle, 4 innings, only a run and 3 hits allowed. But for Andy Ashby, the shortest outing as a starter in his major league career. 6 runs, 8 hits, and only 1 inning plus. Retired only 3 of the 13 hitters he faced. Here's Darryl Kyle. He has walked in single. He's bunting. Takes a called strike. The rotation play was on. The shortstop, Gomez, breaking over, covering third base, freeing Arias, the third baseman, to charge the plate. There is Carlos Reyes, right-hander up in the San Diego bullpen. Boringer is due up 2nd in the last half of this inning, so usually manager likes to see his pitcher finish the inning, so he doesn't have to make a double switch. Kyle drops it right in front of the plate. He's tagged out for 1, and then Myers could not get free to make the throw to third base, so the runners have advanced.
And see, I told you Ed Armbrister never interfered with Carlton Fisk in the 1975 World Series.
Who's that umpire?
Same play.
Is that Larry Barnett umpiring?
Larry Barnett, and he did not call it. Watch, ball's bunted out in front of the plate. It looks like this should be a double play. He tags Kyle now. That you see, Kyle is running toward first, but there's no way that he can throw the ball to third base.
Tossed the mask off, went out and made the play there. And we know he tossed the mask.
We definitely know he tossed the mask.
Because it had our camera on it. He tossed the mask and mask cam. Here's Darryl Hamilton. The infield comes in for San Diego. Hamilton led off the game with a single in the first inning. Then he singled home a run in the second. He is lined into a double play. He's 2 for 3. Shortstop Gomez, the second baseman Veras in halfway. And that is too low. 1 ball, 1 strike. So with Colorado already leading 6-1, Hamilton has a chance here really to turn this one into a laugher, or start to turn it into a laugher. Left field, shallow. Reggie Sanders in a hurry, and the runners will have to hold. So Boehringer's been at his very best tonight. With men in scoring position, he has really been tough.
As you mentioned, he's been out there for a spell now.
That's 5 hitters who attempted to hit, excluding Kyle, who was bunting, with men in scoring position since Boehringer came into the game, and those 5 all went down. Not one of those men in scoring position, which means at second base or third base or both, has scored. And here's Neifi Perez now to try and drive some runs in. The infield back, normal depth, and that changeup, he fooled it. 0-1. Perez 1 for 3. 6-1 Colorado. Rockies have 13 hits in this game, and interestingly, all singles. I mean, this is like the dead ball era, Joe. We got all these bloops and ground balls and low liners. The runners, so Lansing at second. That's Manwaring. Rather, Manwaring's at second. Lansing's at third. And a little bit low. 2-1. Lenny Harris on deck. Colorado took control of this game very early with a 5-run second. All of that before Boehringer got in the game. All of the scoring was against Andy Ashby. First base side. That's a fair ball. Nice pickup by Joyner. The put out by Boehringer. And the side is retired. Wally Joyner has done that to many a hitter over the years. Gold Glove quality play. 6-1 the score. We're halfway through it in Mexico.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline.
In Monterrey, Mexico, that's the Palacio de Gobierno, a gathering place for celebrations such as Independence Day, which in Mexico is every September the 16th. Marking the anniversary of independence from Spain, which occurred in 1810. Here's Chris Gomez, the 8th place hitter. Padres down 6-1. He takes a strike called from Darryl Kyle. The pitcher's spot, Boehringer due up second of the inning. To right field, battling the lights for a moment out there was Harris, but he stays with it. And Gomez is out number 1. And we're going to get a pitch hitter now for Boehringer. It will be Dave Magadan. New acquisition. He's been with Oakland the last couple of years. Fortify the Padres bench. Very good left-handed hitter. Dave Magadan hit .321 with the Athletics last year in limited duty. Meanwhile, even as Kyle starts the 5th inning, the Rockies bullpen is busy. First ball swinging. Magadan is thrown out by Lansing. Just like that, 2 men gone in the San Diego 5th. Two down, and here's leadoff man Kilvio Veras.
Batea por el equipo Padres de San Diego. El primero en el orden. Número 4. Kilvio Veras.
Kilvio Veras has popped to short and grounded out to first. He is 0 for 2. And Veras, who had a very good first half last year when the Padres were so hot, kind of establishing their season, and Kilvio Veras was really the igniter in that first half, although he tailed off considerably in the second half and then got hurt. In the air. That's not good news for Veras. Into the glove of Hamilton, and it's an easy inning. 5 pitches for Darryl Kyle. 6-1 Colorado after 5. The Salón de la Fama del Béisbol, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Mexico, located on the grounds of the Cervecería Cuauhtémoc Moctezuma, Mexico's largest brewery. 6 statues adorn the compound. Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Ty Cobb, Bobby Avila, he was known as in the U.S. Here, Roberto Beto Avila, Hector Espino, and Fernando Valenzuela. 130 members of the Salón de la Fama del Béisbol, each commemorated by a plaque. 105 of them from Mexico, 16 Cubans and 9 Americans, including Roy Campanella and Josh Gibson in the Hall of Fame. We're looking at Carlos Reyes on the pitch now for the Padres as we move to the 6th inning. Lenny Harris, the 3rd place hitter, leading it off in place of Larry Walker, unable to play tonight with a rib cage pull. Harris is 1 for 3 with an RBI. Dante Bichette and Vinny Castilla will follow. It's a foul off the 3rd base side and in off the almost into the crowd, but it hit the screen over there as Myers and Arias gave chase. 6-1 Colorado. A 5-run second for the Rockies. They put 6 runs on the board with 13 singles. Nary an extra base hit, not a homer, not anything other than singles. I'm not expecting that tomorrow night in St. Louis.
No, there will probably be. Well, this one's not over yet. Good pitch.
Veras throws out Harris, and there is one away. Now to our colleague, here is Alvaro Martin.
I'm joined by Larry Lucchino, President and CEO of the San Diego Padres. He's also the man responsible for the best marketing effort aimed at Hispanics and Mexicans. And there's a very simple reason, Mr. Lucchino, it's geography.
That's true, and the size and importance of the market compel us to do it as well. But because of where we're located, we have a keen reason to reach out into Mexico in particular. But all of baseball is waking up to the international market.
Dodgers to the north, desert to the west, ocean to the east. Now, what specifically are you doing for the Hispanic and the Mexican market?
Well, what we're doing is working on both the grassroots level and on a larger publicity level. Games like this, I think, are tremendously important in terms of sinking our roots, planting our flag in Mexico for baseball and for the Padres. But we're also doing grassroots things. We have buses that come to the ballpark. We opened a baseball store in Tijuana. We have lots of corporate activity going on in Baja California. So we consider our market to be the larger regional Baja California market.
Are you going after Mexican-born players?
Absolutely. There's an enormous sense of pride that Mexicans have in their own players. We saw a little bit of it tonight with Vinny Castilla, and we had one of the great Mexican players in Fernando for a while, and we know how important they are.
It's not just good for the community, it's great for the San Diego Padre bottom line.
All right, and Alvaro Martin with us tonight, and our thanks to Larry Lucchino of the Padres. And, under the ownership of John Moores, he took a franchise that was definitely floundering. There seemed to be almost no interest at all in San Diego as regards to Padres baseball. Charles Steinberg, who came from Baltimore with Larry Lucchino, and they have turned things around big time in a hurry there. Got a new stadium coming, but this will certainly be a year that they'll be tested after losing some of their top players from last year's National League pennant winners. And Padre fans, by all accounts, were not too pleased about some of the things that happened over the winter. So a year of challenge for the Padres. Dante Bichette drives one deep into right center field, way back there. Gwynn to the wall. This one is gone. It is ruled a home run, as both Gwynn and Ruben Rivera were claiming that the fan reached over the top of the wall to bring it in. But the second base umpire, Larry Poncino, signaled a home run.
Well, you put the curse on San Diego. You said they're 13 singles. I said it's not over yet, and Dante deposits this ball the opposite way. This just shows you how strong he is, John. Now, watch. He hits this basically flat-footed. He just makes a very tiny step, and he knows it's gone. That's his home run pose right there. You see, look, just flat-footed. He does not use anything but his upper body to hit this ball out of the ballpark. And there was a kid out there trying to catch it, but he misjudged it, and it went over the wall.
And there's ball one to Vinny Castilla.
And the police officers telling him not to interfere with the ball if it is in play. Anything in the stands belongs to you. Anything on the other side belongs to the player.
Of course,
And take a look here. Watch the kid. He'll stick his glove out here. Right there. But he misses it. And you see Tony Gwynn, like smart players should. He says that there was some interference.
Wow, what a bad hop that was. Vinny Castilla. The home field advantage.
That's exactly right. But I told you how quick this infield was, and there are some bumps out there. So this one just kind of hits a rock or something and bounds away from Arias. Now, but the first thing he did wrong, see how he waits on the ball? We talked about how Castillo came after the ball. See, he waited on it. The longer you wait on the ball, the more hops you let it take, the more chances of that happening.
Now Todd Helton. That hop single for Vinny Castilla. He's 3 for 4 in the game. And that's a strike to Helton, who is 0 for 3. 7-1, Colorado. Helton has struck out twice and grounded out once. $15 hits now for the Colorado Rockies, including 1 home run. Well, Joe, I think a guy reached over the fence and did catch that ball. And there he is. This guy caught it.
Well, let's take one more look here, and maybe we can freeze it. Where's the ball?
There it is. See, the guy caught it.
Well, but it was still over the wall when he caught it.
Look where he is.
No, that's where his glove ends up. Watch, let's take one more look at it. His glove, when he actually makes contact, he's above the wall, but his follow-through takes him below the wall. All right, watch. And watch where, if we can freeze it, right there. See, the ball's going to be up there. The ball's up there. But his follow-through is definitely below the... See, he's already caught the ball. See, now his follow-through is below. But it's borderline anyway.
This could be 2. Veras to Gomez 1. Back to first. Double play. Been a long night for Todd Helton, but his Rockies away on front. 7-1, Colorado. Tony Gwynn coming up second when we come back. Sunday night baseball. The Rockies 7, the Padres 1. Major League Baseball's opening night, 1999, from Mexico. Baseball history being made tonight. The first time that an opening night game in Major League Baseball has been played south of the border in Mexico. Here is Reggie Sanders as the Padres have a lot of catching up to do. Sanders in front of Tony Gwynn and Wally Joyner trying to get on base. And there's ball 1, too low. Sanders has walked, stolen a base, and scored a run, the only run against Kyle. He's also been caught out on strikes. Darryl Kyle got a 3-hitter going. And the one time he really looked like he was going to be in trouble in the 4th inning when Joyner singled and Myers walked. He induced George Arias to hit into a double play. So that was a moment of truth for Darryl Kyle. Good pitch on the fists. Second baseman Lansing. And Sanders is out number 1. Now the Oracle game summary from Estadio Monterrey. With the Rockies leading 7-1. A run in the first for Colorado, and then a 5-run second. They've had 15 hits in the game. Of the first 13 batters, 11 of them reached base. 6 of them scored. Andy Ashby, 1 inning plus, gave up 6 runs, 8 hits, his shortest outing lifetime. Tony Gwynn getting one of those 72 hits he needed coming into this season to reach 3,000. Here's Gwynn again. He is 1 for 2. Gwynn, after Sanders stole second in the first inning, singled right through the middle. Wow, he ripped a shot, but right to Todd Helton. Man, Tony, I don't know if he can hit the ball harder than that. That was a liner.
Well, his hitting style is so unique unto him, himself, and because that ball, I mean, he doesn't go after the ball like everyone else. He goes after the ball with his upper body. If the ball's away, he goes out with his upper body and gets it. This pitch is in, so he goes away. Watch where the pitch is. Just his upper body goes to the pitch. I mean, he's just, that's why he handles every pitch in every location.
Now Wally Joyner, 2 down, nobody on. And that's a curveball down and in for ball 1. Well, Joe, watching the Padres tonight, I mean, it really looks like it's going to be tough for them to score runs.
Definitely. I mean, the run they got came with Reggie Sanders getting a walk, stealing the base, and luckily Tony Gwynn was the hitter, and he drove in the run.
Bochy's going to have to do a lot of figuring to squeeze some runs out of this lineup the way it looks.
Well, they've got a couple of guys, you know, in the minor leagues that might can help them if things do not go well. One, Little Sarge, Gary Matthews Jr. is one of them. I mean, they've got some prospects that may be able to come up and add a little offense to the ball club.
And a catcher, he'll be in AAA this year, Ben Davis. And these are 2 very highly touted prospects from scouts all around Major League Baseball. Right now, they're really relying on a couple of young guys, George Arias and Ruben Rivera. And you know, they're hoping that these guys can show they can hit up here. Wally Joyner has struck out and singled. 2 down, nobody on in the 6th inning. Darryl Kyle rolling along with a 7-1 lead. And the walk for Joyner. That's the 3rd walk allowed by Kyle. And it will bring up Greg Myers. Kyle has reached the 80 pitch level. So he's really had sort of an economy of pitches. He's had a couple of real quick innings, an 8-pitch 2nd inning, a 5-pitch 5th inning. Greg Myers. And again, Greg Myers is the 5th place hitter after hitting 4 home runs last year with a .246 average.
So between their 4th place hitter, Joyner, and Myers, there's 16 home runs.
It's not too many.
Not for your cleanup hitter and your 5th place hitter.
Yeah. And especially when they traded a guy who had 50 all by himself.
In the old days, that was okay, but the way the game is played now, you need some big flies.
Well, the old days, you mean 1907?
Yeah, well, when the Chicago White Sox won that record number of games,
yeah,
they didn't hit any home runs.
1906, the Cubs, come on, get it right.
What did I say?
The Cubs, not the White Sox.
Oh, the Cubs, yeah, of course.
The Cubs won 116 games, the best Major League record of all time.
Then they won 107 the next year.
But then they went to the World Series and lost to the White Sox. That's probably what you were thinking. Yeah. The White Sox nickname was the Hitless Wonders in the dead ball era. Well, Kyle may be starting to lose it here. He's now 3-0 to Myers. And the bullpen is looking like it's going to get busy again here soon for Colorado, yeah? Jim Leyland, Milt May alongside. 3-0 the count. It's a 4-pitch walk. Well, Joe, if you're the skipper, are you convinced now that he's had it?
Well, I would at least want somebody to go out and ask him. Yeah, there goes Milt May. I'd go out and talk to him and find out how he feels.
Well, this gives us an opportunity to tell you that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Milt May out to ask the question face to face. Darryl Kyle, presumably have you had it?
Well, that was the first thing he asked him, are you okay? And Darryl said, oh, yes. So that's why he's still out there.
I think you have to ask a different question than that.
No,
he's always going to say, oh, yeah.
Well, that's a good point. But a lot of times you have to trust your pitchers. You have to build the confidence that, you know, in them that they will tell you the truth.
Well, here's George Arias with another shot at it. 2 on, 2 out. A strike. Back in the 4th inning, it was 2 men on, nobody out. And Arias, in a big moment, with a chance to do some damage to Kyle, eventually grounded into a double play. Arias 0 for 2. Oh, the curveball. And now he's behind in the count, 2 strikes. In the bullpen, activity going for the Rockies. The right-hander Curtis Leskonik. The left-hander, number 23, Chuck McElroy. So they'll be ready if needed. Joyner at second, Myers at first, 2 down, but 2 strikes to Arias. And the curveball got him looking. He never swung the bat. 7-1, Colorado. We're heading to the 7th inning. Rockies 7, Padres 1. Sunday night baseball, opening night baseball, 1999. As we go to the 7th inning in Mexico tomorrow. Openers all around baseball and a big one at Dodger Stadium. The big unit makes his Arizona debut against Kevin Brown and the Dodgers, 4 Eastern, then at 7 Eastern. Big Mac is back in St. Louis. The Cardinals and the Brewers. That game will be shown everywhere except Milwaukee and St. Louis by ESPN at 10:30. The world champion Yankees and their new right-hander, the Rocket, Roger Clemens, take on the Oakland Athletics, 10:30 Eastern. We hope you'll tune us in tomorrow. Major League Baseball opening day on ESPN.
We must have one of those hats. Yeah, we must.
Well, I thought that was you for a second.
Hey, we need one of those.
Man.
Yeah, this is our 10th season.
We love ESPN, that side said. Hey, it's obvious. That is the golden sombrero. 1-1 the count to Mike Lansing. He's 2 for 3.
I was looking at a lineup of games tomorrow, John. I wish I could drive down to L.A. and maybe watch that game and then get back in time to catch the Yankees in Oakland. One's in the afternoon. You think I'd have time to do both?
You're Joe Morgan. You're in the Hall of Fame. You can do anything you want. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Lansing. Man wearing on deck. Carlos Reyes, the pitcher. That is foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Randy Johnson, Kevin Brown. Now, the last time we saw them match up was game 1 in the division series at the Astrodome last year, and Kevin Brown looked more like the big unit than the big unit did. 16 strikeouts in 8 innings.
But you know what? They both work so quickly. It'll be under 2 hours. I might be able to make it.
Well, I'll be expecting to see you there. I'll be very disappointed if they don't show you in the crowd at Dodger Stadium tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And then Mark McGwire and the Cardinals go up against Rafael Roque and the Milwaukee Brewers. Just off the outside from Reyes. 2-2 the count. Now we thought maybe at first it would be Cal Eldred, but he's going to open the year in the disabled list for Milwaukee. Then I thought Scott Carl, the left-hander, but he's not going to go. Instead, Rafael Roque gets that opening day assignment to try and keep Big Mac in the ballpark. And there is 1 away. Lansing retired. Here's our colleague now, Alvaro Martin.
John, I'm joined by the proudest parents in Mexico, Carmela and Carlos Castilla. Doña Carmela, mucho orgullo esta noche.
Sí, me da mucho gusto estar con ustedes.
She's very thrilled to be here. Now, in 1991, Vinny Castilla wrote a letter to his dad. He was at Sumter, Class A for the Braves organization, saying, I think I'm ready to go home, I'm ready to quit. But he didn't. And it was a letter from his father. ¿Qué fue lo que le escribió en la carta a su hijo?
Que había muchos que querían el lugar que él tenía y que debía de esforzarse más porque él podía, y si se lo habían llevado de México es porque le habían visto algo.
There were many who wished they were in his position, and there's a reason why the Braves took him out of Mexico. And with that letter, Castilla stayed in the major leagues, and the rest, as they say, is history. It's important sometimes to write, not just to call.
Yeah.
Hey, and cheaper, too.
Sounds just like my mom. Pop fly, first base side. And that is Wally Joyner in foul ground, and Manwaring is retired, out number 2. But a letter from Dad pointing out something that seemed rather simple, but I mean, Vinny was so down and so alone with the language barrier, the cultural barriers in a strange country, not understanding the language well. And he thought, man, I'm just not going to make it. I better go home. His dad sent the note. That's a great story.
Yes, it is.
Indeed, the rest is history. Vinny Castilla has become one of the great sluggers in the game at a time in the game's history when we have a whole array of great sluggers, and Vinny Castilla is right there with all of them. 1 ball, no strikes to Darryl Kyle. He has walked, singled, and had a sacrifice bunt. Speaking of some sluggers.
You know, that's one of the best interviews I saw this when a guy asked Mark McGwire about this coming season and could he hit more than 70 home runs, and his answer was great. He said anything is possible, and I think that was great, because if he says no, I don't think I can duplicate that, it puts a negative thought in his mind. But anything is possible, and he may hit more than 70.
Look at this, Darryl Kile. Darryl Kile may win the batting championship. He's 2 for 2 with a walk. 2 out, Kile aboard again, and leadoff man Darrell Hamilton will come up.
Well, I'm not used to analyzing pitcher swings, but that's a pretty good swing right there. Hits a little soft liner in the left center field. In fact, most hitters get mad when pitchers get hits because they don't need them. And you can see from mass cam that pitch was pretty much in the middle of the plate.
Darrell Hamilton. Hamilton is 2 for 4 in this game. By the way, as we're talking about home runs, we were talking about home runs, weren't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Rafael Roque, who goes tomorrow, the left-hander, young lefty with Milwaukee, against Mark McGwire and the Cardinals. He's got a little history with McGwire and Sosa both. Peter Pasquarelli points this out. He gave up the 64th home run of the year hit by Mark McGwire. All right, that's pretty interesting.
Right.
He also gave up number 64 to Sosa. Off the fists, Veras around the shoe tops, and Hamilton is retired. 7th inning stretch time in Mexico. 7-1 Colorado leading San Diego.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Adidas. By 10-10-321. Dial it and save 50% on calls over 10 minutes. And by Sun Microsystems. Look into network computing from Sun.
Major League Baseball is back. The 1999 season beginning right here in Monterrey, Mexico. Darryl Kile. That curveball didn't curve, and Ruben Rivera hit the deck. 1 ball and no strikes. Rivera has singled and been thrown out on a dribbler by the catcher.
Well, John, Darrell Hamilton got the first base hit in 1999. First home run was hit by Dante Bichette. So we're off and flying.
Chris Gomez will follow. And it's a foul. First major ovation followed by thousands of flashbulbs from cameras to Vinny Castilla. Preceding those that will follow for Mark McGwire tomorrow night. Castilla. I don't even think you can say he's realizing a dream. As he told Alvaro Martin, our colleague, before the game. I mean, I don't think he ever even dared dream that he'd play in the major leagues back in Mexico. How could he? Much less returning as a great national hero. 2-2 the count to Ruben Rivera. Rivera, who hails from Panama. At one time the top prospect out of the Yankees farm system. He was part of the Hideki Irabu trade. Lenny Harris, and there is one away. We're in Mexico tonight. Last week, we had the great honor to be in Havana, Cuba for the baseball exchange. The Baltimore Orioles against the Cuban All-Stars. Connie Marrero threw out several first pitches, 84 years old. And that was certainly a weekend to remember for all of us here at ESPN. And now tonight in Mexico, another exotic weekend for us. And we certainly have had a great time here in Mexico. I can't speak for you, Joe. I say we. I'm speaking only for myself. Yeah. The universal we there, I guess. Yes. But I have a feeling you've had a pretty good time.
Yes. I always have a good time where a baseball game is concerned. And Major League Baseball especially. I even like watching the little leagues on the playgrounds.
2-1 the count to Chris Gomez. Well, we had ample opportunities to do that in Cuba last week, because everywhere we went, there was a ball game going on a vacant lot in a field, you name it. And sometimes they had ball games going and it wasn't even anything that you really could call a ball being used. Well, Darryl Kile almost toying with Chris Gomez there. Now John Vander Wal comes out of the dugout. He's going to pinch hit for Reyes.
Well, we see Kyle kind of drops down and throws a little short slider and takes a little off, and you can see Gomez way out in front of the pitch.
And that's funny for a couple innings there. Kyle looked like he might be finished, and he's come back here looking not only very strong but extremely confident. John Vander Wal, he had an outstanding spring. Used to be the pinch hitter deluxe for the Colorado Rockies.
Hit a big home run against the Atlanta Braves in the playoff series last year.
John Vander Wal. Now, if the rookie Ruben Rivera does not hit after a while, Vander Wal might start playing a lot in the outfield. And he continues to hit the ball hard, just as he did all spring long. That is the first extra base hit of the night against Darryl Kile. A double to left center by Vander Wal. And we go to the top of the batting order. That is only the 4th hit to San Diego in this game.
Fastball that moves back out over the middle of the plate. It started inside, but just moved back out over the plate. And Vander Wal, good hitter, finds a gap in left center field.
So Vander Wal with the double. Now Kilvio Veras has popped to short, grounded to first, and flied to center. And suddenly the curveball is not there for Kyle. Bullpen activity as Kyle has reached the 100 pitch mark. I say bullpen activity. There are a couple of pitchers up in the Colorado bullpen. Jerry Dipoto, the right-hander. McElroy is standing there to the left side of the screen, but not throwing at the moment. Base hit to left center for Kilvio Veras. That will get Vander Wal home. Veras thinks about it, but he's chased back by Darrell Hamilton, who got to the ball quickly. And it is 7-2 Colorado. First hit of the year, first RBI for Kilvio Veras, and that will be the end of Darryl Kile. Jim Leyland will go to the bullpen, and we'll return to Monterey momentarily. Curtis Leskanic is the new pitcher, not Jerry Dipoto. Curtis Leskanic was the right-hander warming up out of the bullpen. To the Leskanic family, I apologize. It was Leskanic all along, warming up in the bullpen. Hard-throwing right-hander facing Reggie Sanders with 2 down. Kilvio Veras at first. Tony Gwynn is on deck.
It looked like Kurt to me.
Well, you didn't say anything.
We worked together. Darryl Kile, he did a good job, Johnny. He got some work in. He threw over 100 pitches, which I think is the reason that Leyland went to get him. He wanted him to get a certain number of pitches. He got over 100, and he decided to make the move.
Speaking of getting work in, the San Diego bullpen is busy right now. Remember, the pitcher, Reyes, was lifted for a pinch hitter in this inning. John Vander Wal had a double. Veras at first. Being held in the bag by Helton. Too low with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. 3 and 1. And then the Padre bullpen is the closer, their ace. Man who had an incredible year last year, Trevor Hoffman.
Hope this is not a sign of things to come, where you're going to have to pitch a lot in the 7th and 8th inning without having a lead.
To get some work in.
There's that may be a luxury that Padres really cannot afford. You know, having a great closer and may not have a chance to use him nearly as much as they would like in closing situations.
3-1 to Sanders, and he gets the walk. Now that is not very good pitching when you've got Tony Gwynn as the next hitter with 2 down.
And not only that, when you have a 7-2 lead.
And Jim Leyland's going to go to the bullpen again. So Leskanic, with a 7-2 advantage, faces just the 1 hitter. And now McElroy, the left-hander, is going to face Tony Gwynn, and we'll be right back. Sunday Night Baseball from Mexico. Colorado Rockies leading 7-2. Opening night, 1999 for Major League Baseball. Chuck McElroy got a 5-run lead with which to work, but he got 2 men on base and Tony Gwynn at the plate. And there's ball 1. McElroy had an outstanding year for the Rockies last year. And now he's facing one of the best. Gwynn's driven in a run tonight. 2-0. Well, Liscana came on. He couldn't get the ball over. Now McElroy has fallen behind. 2 balls, no strikes. The runners, Kilvio Veras at second, Reggie Sanders at first. They both run real well. And there at short, Neifi Perez to Lansing covering. Sanders is forced, and that is the inning. We're going to the 8th inning now. 7-2 Colorado. We go now to the top of the 8th inning. 7-2 Colorado leading San Diego on Sunday Night Baseball. Now let's take a look at the in-game box score brought to you by EA Sports. For the Rockies, a lot of hits tonight. 16 hits on the board. Hamilton's got 2, including a run scored and an RBI. Dante Bichette, a big night. 4 for 4 with a homer. 4 batted in. Even the pitcher, the starting pitcher, Darryl Kyle, had a couple of hits tonight. On the pitch now in a spot where he's just going to try and get some work in. Here is Trevor Hoffman, who tied a National League record last year, 53 saves, only 1 blown save. Quite a remarkable season for Hoffman. 73 innings, only 41 hits, and 86 strikeouts. Neifi Perez, Lenny Harris, and Dante Bichette are the 3 hitters due up here. Hoffman, 31 years of age. And that is too low. In the World Series, the Yankees got to him for a big 3-run homer. And there was a little controversy because he had not been used earlier in the World Series against the Yankees.
Well, they're using him early here in this season.
Yeah.
Well, no, there was an opportunity, I think, in Game 2 where they could have used him in Yankee Stadium just to get his feet wet in the World Series, but they chose not to.
It was his first World Series, after all. And that fastball is too low. Bruce Bochy at the time. By the way, John Vanderwall is still in the ball game, playing left field now.
And will hit 9.
So Sanders is gone, and Kyle is listed in the number 2 spot in the order. That fastball called a strike, and Neifi Perez didn't think so. On the outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes in the 8th inning. Neifi Perez is 1 for 4. Bruce Bochy said in that World Series that he didn't use him in Game 2 simply because Hoffman had been so miserable in games where he had been used to get some work in. Where he had not been used in game-type situations, he had just gotten lit up.
Well, it's always easy, to second-guess something after it happens, but at the time we talked about that.
Popped up.
And the fact that, anytime you're going to your first World Series, I don't care who you are, your first at bat in a World Series, your first pitch thrown in a World Series, it's different than a regular season game or a playoff game. And I felt that his adrenaline was too high. I mean, he was really just throwing and overthrowing, when he did come into the ball game, and he got a little erratic and had to give Brocious a fastball, and he hit the ball out of the ballpark.
It was actually a 2-run homer in Game 3 in the 8th inning to Brocious.
I knew that, but I didn't want to, we worked together.
You keep saying that. I just want you to say it, Just say it, John. You idiot. 1 ball, 1 strike to Lenny Harris. Trevor Hoffman. It'd be pretty difficult, even under the best of circumstances, for him to duplicate last year. He had the highest save percentage in Major League history. 53 saves and 54 chances. It'd be tough to do better than that.
Well, he's only hoping he gets 54 chances. That would be the deal. You can't expect him to convert 53 out of 54, but the tough part is going to be for him to have 54 opportunities this year.
That fastball in for a strike. 2-2 to Harris. There's that changeup. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rick Sutcliffe describes that changeup by Trevor Hoffman as kind of a freak of nature. I mean, he just something about the size of his hands or whatever, but I mean it usually is so much slower than the fastball. There it is again, and Harris just got a piece of it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
But I think it also points out how good a team the Yankees were last year, because they made adjustments to change-ups. I mean, he threw some change-ups, and they were able to get a piece of them, foul them back. And you see the change-up. You can see his fingers off it, so he's choking the fastball, meaning it's back in his hand, in the palm, rather than in his fingers.
To short, and Gomez throws out Harris. 2 men gone.
Let's take a look at Dante Bichette. I'm going to show you something that's different, why he doesn't pull the ball anymore. Now, if you remember, we would see guys like McGuire, Griffin, and Sosa fire their hips on the pitch. But he doesn't fire his hips. He hits everything with his upper body. All he did there was hit with power, with his strength. He used his strength to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And now he's waiting longer, and that's why he's much more difficult to fool than ever before. And that's why he just flips some balls over there. He's not using bat speed to hit the ball out of the ballpark or bat speed to get a base hit. And we've seen him, you know, just flip 3 balls to right center field and right field in this ball game. And he stands almost flat-footed, and all he's doing is using the upper part of his body. And there you see why right there that his home run production has gone down. Look, a high of 40 in 1995 to a low of 22 last year, and he had 219 base hits last year. But he still drove in the run, and that's the key. It's not how many home runs you hit or what your batting average is, but your run production, and he did drive in some runs.
Driven 122 last year. He driven 128 the year he hit 40 homers. Gomez, and it's a 3-up, 3-down inning for Trevor Hoffman. Very successful, even though he's just getting some work in. 7-2 Colorado after 7.5. 7-2 the Rockies over the Padres. We move to the last of the 8th in Monterrey, Mexico. The EA in-game box score now. The EA Sports in-game box score. For the Padres, not too many hits. Tony Gwynn got 1, leaving him 71 away from 3,000. And he and Caleb Yoveris have had the only RBIs.
And Tony Gwynn actually hit the ball hard 4 times, John. Lined out the first, and another hard ground ball to shortstop.
Pat Watkins now in right field for the Colorado Rockies, replacing Lenny Harris. Watkins acquired from the Florida Marlins in a deal. Here's Wally Joyner against Chuck McElroy. Both bullpens are busy as we play the last of the 8th inning. Wally Joyner takes the ball. Joyner 1 for 2 with a walk. 2-1 the count. Roberto Ramirez, the left-hander, who was with San Diego last year for a while, and the right-hander Mike Dejan warming up.
Looks like Jim Leyritz out on deck.
The King?
Yeah.
Greg Myers due up next, but there's Leyritz with the left-hander on the mound now. Whoa, look out. That bat left the hands of Joyner and ended up against the screen, which there's a lot of a screen here from dugout to dugout. Otherwise, that would have gone into the stands.
Well, a lot of hitters just hold the bat loosely in their fingers, and if you get fooled a little bit, the barrel of the bat will pull it out of your hand. And a lot of other hitters, you see that comes sliding down the backstop. A lot of other hitters choke it and squeeze it tight.
It's a walk for Joyner. Now the King. That was his nickname last year.
He earned it.
Leyritz went to San Diego, and they gave him the nickname the King. And this guy continued to show the magic in the postseason. October baseball, as he had done with the Yankees. He is a bateador emergente.
Sí.
Leyritz. Now 35 years of age. And of his 12 hits in 24 career postseason games, 7 are home runs. He had 4 home runs last year in 13 postseason games. And he had 3 of them against Houston in that division series. I mean, he really just destroyed the Astros. Jim Leyritz.
Well, McElroy wasn't respectful of the king. 2 fastballs and a breaking ball.
The king has left the batter's box.
Here's the slider. And he took a little off the slider and Leyritz out in front. There was 2 fastballs by him and then threw a little slider off speed. I don't know about you, John, but I have not noticed any change in the strike zone. Have you?
No.
Okay. Then we won't discuss it.
Called strike to George Arias.
Let's wait till we notice a change before we discuss it.
I was on a flight last night with tonight's umpiring crew. Nice group of guys and very professional, a lot of experience. Jerry Meals is the newcomer to this crew, umpiring at third base tonight. Steve Ripley has been around for a long, long while. Behind the plate. And that slider in the dirt for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, everybody in baseball had been talking about the strike zone. There were times during the spring when I thought higher pitches were being called strikes. 2 strikeouts in a row here for McElroy as Arias. Been a long night for the new Padre third baseman George Arias. Now 0 for 4. 2 strikeouts and a double play. And his last 3 times up, he's been up with men on base. Now Ruben Rivera. He's 1 for 3. And there's ball 1. And that's a ball. 2 balls and no strikes. You get a lot of opinions about the strike zone in baseball, depending primarily on who you ask. You get one kind of an opinion when you ask a pitcher what they think of the strike zone, and you get another comment when you ask a hitter. In fact, we wanted a comment from one of the best hitters, so we asked Tony Gwynn his comments about the strike zone.
For me, it's not going to be much of a bother at all because I'm looking to swing the bat. You know, when I get a pitch to hit, I want to hit it. This spring, there were a couple occasions where, you know, they called the one that they've been working on trying to call a little bit higher strike. But as hitters, we have to make adjustments all the time.
That comes from a consummate hitter. I mean, he says you have to make adjustments all the time, which is the point. You have to adjust every pitch to the, you know, what the pitcher's doing to you. So basically what he said, I have to adjust to what they're calling. So as he said, it wouldn't be a problem for him, but there are a lot of other guys that are going to be playing this year as well that aren't as good at hitters as Tony.
Again this year?
Yeah.
It'd be about the 16th straight year, wouldn't it? 3-2 the count to Ruben Rivera. 2 down. Joyner at first. 7-2. Colorado leading in the 8th inning. Joyner runs, and it's a strikeout, and McElroy strikes out the side after walking Joyner. We're moving to the 9th. 7-2 Rockies. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball opening night 1999 from Mexico, and the Colorado Rockies lead the Padres 7-2. Stay tuned after the ball game for SportsCenter. Duval wins again. The Knicks and Pacers head-to-head. And the Sunday night conversation with the big unit, Randy Johnson, who makes his debut as an Arizona Diamondback tomorrow, right here on ESPN. At SportsCenter, right after the ball game. Dan Miceli, who had an outstanding year as a setup man for the Padres last year. 10 wins, 5 losses. You see his numbers. Miceli also getting some work in here in opening night with his ball club trailing 7-2. And the Padres right now, ball club without much power, as Jim Leyritz also stays in to do the catching. The king is still here. And one more shot for Vinny Castilla. the all-time home run leader among all players born in Mexico.
That's a good buddy of ours, George Orta.
George Orta could hit.
He could really hit. He was one of my favorite hitters.
There's Samantha Castilla, Vinny's wife. Vinny is 3 for 4 in this game. Castilla has homered on opening day each of the last 2 years for the Rockies. Not so far tonight. 1-1 the count. Now, you know, Vinny, after homering last year in Arizona and homering on opening night the year before, he'd trade both of those to get one here tonight at home in Mexico on opening night. And Miceli, 1-1 the count. Down and into Vinny Castilla. Still the flash bulbs go off as pictures are being taken by fans all around the ballpark. Vinny Castilla, 170 career home runs. George Orta hit 130 in his career. He was not a home run slugger.
No, he's just a good hitter.
Shot down the left field line. Extra bases perhaps. And he'll get a double on this one. Vanderwall digs it out. That's the 4th hit for Vinny Castilla.
Well, he wasn't just a slugger. He didn't just hit 46 home runs. He also hit 315 for an average last year. And he gets a hanging slider, and he just rips it down to the left field line. It's a hanging slider from Miceli. It hangs inside, and he just rips it down the line, and all the flash bulbs going off.
There's his mom and dad and his wife, Carlos and Carmela. Carmela jumping to her feet. So Castilla, 4 for 5. So he did not hit a big fly, but he did just about everything else, and he also made a couple of outstanding defensive plays early on that really hurt the Padres when they still had some visions of getting back into this game.
I think
tres hombres después a seguirse. The big home run sluggers out there, McGuire, Sosa, and Castilla. It's into the bullpen as Vanderwall gave chase.
And Helton's the only starter that doesn't have a base hit, including the pitcher, Gerald Kyle.
I mean, Helton has not even gotten on base. On a night when his team has 17 hits, he has not been able to get the ball out of the infield. Vinny Castilla at second base. Nobody out in the 9th inning. And it is still 0-2. You know, we mentioned Castilla, the leading home run hitter from Mexico in Major League Baseball. George Orta, number 2. You know who number 3 is? This guy was really known more for his glove. I mean, he was an outstanding defensive third baseman. Aurelio Rodriguez. I mean, he was one of the best with the glove. And he had some power, too. He had 124 homers in the big leagues. Some of the other major leaguers who were the home run leaders from their respective countries. Andres Galarraga from Venezuela, 332. And a guy who's going into the Hall of Fame at long last this year, the baby bull Orlando Cepeda from Puerto Rico, 379 home runs. That's a foul, and that too will go back out of play. In amongst the spectators, 1 ball and 2 strikes. The home run leader from Canada is Vinny Castilla's teammate, Larry Walker. Todd Helton. It'd be kind of embarrassing on a night where your teammates get 17 hits and you didn't get any.
It's happened to me a few times, John. I did. I'm not kidding you. It happened.
You didn't waste them when they didn't need it.
No, but it happens.
1-2. Larry Walker not in the game tonight. They have 17 hits, and they don't have the league batting champion in the lineup. Helton fouling another one away into the crowd. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Sammy Sosa, the all-time home run leader from the Dominican Republic. 273 for Sammy. The all-time home run leader from the United States, Hank Aaron. The all-time home run leader all-time home run leader, period. Not a play.
An all-time home run leader from Oakland?
Who?
Frank Robinson.
Is he still saying he's from Oakland? Well, the minor league home run king hailed from Mexico, Hector Espino. As I understand it, 450 minor league home runs. 453 as I recall now more clearly.
I knew that.
He, on top of that, hit another 310 in winter ball. That's pretty good. That's pretty good hitting.
Not bad.
1-2 the count. This kid was promised to call home if Vinny hit one. He got 4 hits tonight, but no big flies. Helton hanging up and right to Vanderwall. Well, I mean, he really battled hard to get a base hit, and he hit it hard, but he's 0 for 5. Castilla holding at second.
The good thing is he's got 161 more to go.
I think he'll get some more.
Yeah, he'll get a
chances. Now Mike Lansing, 2 singles tonight, 2 for 4. And that is foul. Castilla at second. 1 out in the 9th inning. The whole crowd, I mean, they haven't gotten enough just yet. Everybody's still here. Over 27,000 at Estadio Monterrey. There's 2 R's, Joe.
Yes.
You really have to roll them with 2 R's. Dos Eres.
Actually, John, I think those whistles are for a couple of senoritas that were walking down the aisle.
I'm just concentrating on Dan Miceli facing Mike Lansing.
They put him up on the scoreboard. That's why everyone was clapping and whistling.
Joe Morgan, who doesn't miss anything. If it's happening in the ballpark, Joe is on top of it. Mike Lansing is at the plate now, Joe. Back to the screen. Look out. 0-2 the count. Vinny Castilla, after hitting a double on a hanging slider from that man, Dan Miceli, is over at second base. Castilla, you know, he credits now Oakland manager Art Howe with helping him a lot as a hitter. Strike 3 and a good fastball from Miceli. 2 down. Speaking of Art Howe, his Oakland Athletics will be part of our triple header on opening day tomorrow, starting with Arizona and Los Angeles. Brown goes against the big unit at 4 Eastern. Milwaukee goes up against the Cardinals, and Big Mac back in town in St. Louis for opening night, 7 Eastern. And then the Yankees with the Rocket take on Art Howe's Oakland Athletics. Rookie of the Year, Ben Grieve at the Coliseum, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN. Here's Kurt Manwaring. He's 1 for 3 with a walk. Castilla still at second. And Miceli throws the fastball by him.
Where did Art Howe work with Castilla?
He, in 1995, he said he had a hitting session with Art Howe, who was the batting coach at that time for the Rockies. And he said that Howe helped him to keep his front shoulder in. He said before that he was a guy who tried to pull everything. Just out-and-out pull hitter. And he said Howe helped him with the idea of trying to hit the ball back up through the middle, letting his power take care of the rest. That's why he not only hits home runs, but also hits 350.
Art Howe is a good hitter. I played with him in Houston, and he was that type of hitter. Back through the middle, go the other way.
Manwaring, that's a foul off the catcher. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Padres playing opening night here in Mexico. They will have their home opener on Tuesday. And they said they'll have all of the normal ceremonies that you would associate with a home opener on Tuesday against these same Colorado Rockies, a day game at Qualcomm Stadium. One and two. That is right along the line. A fair ball for Manwaring. His second hit of the game. Manwaring's going to be held to a single by Tony Gwynn, but scoring on the play is Castilla. 8-2, Colorado. Well, Kurt Manwaring's had a couple of hits tonight. That's 18 hits all told for the Colorado Rockies.
Fastball away up a little bit, and Manwaring just kind of slaps it to right field, so he doesn't try to pull it. He's going the other way with it. Good hitting there by Manwaring.
Now Angel Echevarria, who is from Bridgeport, Connecticut, comes up as a pinch hitter. 326 at Colorado Springs last year. He is batting for the pitcher, Chuck McElroy. Echevarria. Ninth inning, Colorado. A great time at the expense of the San Diego Padres. No swing there, ruled by Gary Darling, first base umpire. Angel Echevarria out of Rutgers University. Twice made the NCAA all-regional team there with Rutgers. Had some brief looks with the Rockies in the past. Now it's 1-2. Had 70 major league at-bats and a .314 major league batting average. And his first major league home run against the Milwaukee Brewers' David Weathers last August. His first and only major league home run. He's been around a while. He's an old rookie, 27 years old. Trying to impress his new manager, Jim Leland. Impressed him enough in the spring to make the opening day roster. He knocked him with a fastball, and Echevarria fights it off. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jim Leland got his bullpen going as Echevarria pinch hits here for McElroy. There's Dave Veers, a right-hander up. Leland has not named a closer for his bullpen. And of course, for many of his years in Pittsburgh, that was the way he operated. He had sort of what they called a bullpen by committee. He would choose a closer based on game situations. That's a slider of beauty. Strike 3. Another run for the Rockies. Last chance for the Padres. It is 8-2 Colorado. We'll be back. John Miller with Joe Morgan. Sunday Night Baseball, our 10th season on ESPN. Every Sunday, 8 Eastern. Joe's into that little Latin beat. Feels like a little bailando now. Yeah.
Hey, this is a fun ballpark, fun atmosphere.
Yeah, it's been a great time. Next week, though, we'll be back in the States.
Right.
As we take a look at the Texas Rangers, Juan Gonzalez, Ivan Rodriguez, and a ball club that won the American League West last year, but they were tested by the Angels, and they appear to be the top 2 contenders again this year, and we'll see them head-to-head. 8 Easterns, 7 Central, and no matter who's playing, on Sundays at 8, 5 Pacific, 7 Central, 6 Rocky Mountain time, we've got a ball game for you. That's what we do on Sunday Night Baseball. So we hope that you will join us every Sunday. Dave Veers on the pitch now for the Colorado Rockies. Chuck McElroy went an inning in the 3rd. No runs, no hits allowed. He had 3 strikeouts and a walk. So here's Veers to try and wrap this one up. Chris Gomez leads it off, then John Vanderwall and Kilvio Veras. One night does not a season make without question. But on the other hand, you have to be a little troubled if you're a Padre fan to look at this lineup and just say, hey, there's really, at this point anyway, until some young guys like Arias or Rivera can prove otherwise, there seems to be a real profound lack of pop in that batting order. Nefi Perez got his man, one away.
Yeah, you're going to, if you do not have a lot of power, you have to have some consistency, whether that's guys getting on base, stealing a lot of bases, or whether it's guys hitting a lot of singles. You have to have some consistency throughout your lineup. And as you said, this is only the first ball game of the season, and the Padres hope they will get better and become more consistent.
Well, you know, since last year they went to the World Series. They lost their leading winner, pitcher Kevin Brown. They lost their leading home run hitter, Greg Vaughn. Fouled away by Vanderwall. You know how often that has happened to a World Series team, to lose your leading winner and your leading home run hitter the next year?
Once.
Well, actually twice, but I'm going to accept your answer.
Accept that. I thought you would.
Yeah, because one time was the Florida Marlins.
Right.
That doesn't count.
No.
Base hit to left field. So Vanderwall, with his second hit, he's 2 for 2. He didn't even start the game. And that will bring up Kilvio Veras, 1 on and 1 out. The other time was all the way back in 1914 when Connie Mack was the manager of the team he owned, the Philadelphia A's. And after they went to the World Series in 1914, they lost the series. They lost 2 future Hall of Famers, their leading home run leader, and I know he was the leading home run hitter on the ball club because his name was Home Run Baker.
Yeah, that was his nickname, right? Franklin?
Frank Home Run Baker. He sat out the whole season in a disputed contract. And also their leading winner, Chief Bender, went over to Baltimore of the Federal League, which was just formed at that time. So other than the Florida Marlins, the last team before San Diego to lose their leading winner and leading home run hitter was Philadelphia Athletics. And that was 85 years ago. That's only 2 years after the Titanic sank.
And a long time before free agency.
Absolutely. Although Chief Bender tested it by going to the Federal League for a couple of years. 1999. Just getting underway. And the Yankees do what they did. They start tomorrow with Roger Clemens, but without their manager, Joe Torre. Don Zimmer filling in. Strike 3 called, and Veras knew it. He's 1 for 5. Now Eric Owens is going to come up and bat for the pitcher, Dan Maselli. And he's just going to try and keep this game going to get Tony Gwynn another shot at it. Tony Gwynn would be next. 335 last year in AAA at Louisville for Eric Owens. Tony Gwynn now 71 hits away from 3,000. Wade Boggs with Tampa Bay needs 78 hits. And Cal Ripken 122. Now wouldn't that be something if 3 guys the same year all got 3,000 hits?
Well, I think it's almost a cinch that they will do it this year.
Well, you would certainly think so. Although Wade Boggs is now sharing third base with Bobby Smith.
Yeah, but at 78 hits, Boggs can get that in a week if he gets hot.
Here are their current totals. There have been 5 times in Major League history where 2 guys have gotten their 3,000th hit in the same year, which itself is remarkable. Only 21 guys have ever done it, period.
And the last time would have been Brett and Carew, correct?
Brett and Yount, 1992. Well, that ends the ball game, and Vinny Castilla fielding one last ground ball before saying hasta luego to his many fans in his native Mexico. Dante Bichette for the big night, 4 hits, including a homer and 4 RBIs. And things do not look good as the Padres begin 1999. 18 hits for Colorado. Stay tuned for SportsCenter. John Miller for Joe Morgan. Adios, caballeros y madamas.